Round one. Fight!
Piece of me? I don't want a piece of you. I want the whole thing.
Welcome everyone to Rank Your Fights, episode number 27. We're going to be talking best horror movies of the 80s, arguably the best decade for horror. And I think we have an all-timer cast tonight. We got some guys that are definitely, I feel, a little bit out of my league as far as their experience with horror movies, and I'll kind of talk about my experience here in a second. But I'll just go ahead and I'll introduce our panel. So first up, we have my co-host for tonight, the one that's kind of got me through some of these horror movies and kind of helped me pick which ones to watch, because I'm a little less experienced than most people when it comes to horror. So we got Austin Pez. How you doing?
What's up, buddy? No, I'm glad you've been able to take this journey in horror, and I know you're going to be kind of a first-timer on to a lot of movies with this panel, but, we need that new perspective. That's always fun to go back and hear about somebody who's just seeing these for the first time. Yeah. Obviously, me and a lot of the other panelists are very, very familiar with these movies, but we got an all-timer panel tonight, and this is absolutely the best decade of horror. I can't wait to talk about them.
Yeah, so we're moving up our other of the three co-hosts for the channel. We have Chris Scott, Casablanca Kid.
What's up?
How's it going?
Doing good, guys. I'm excited to talk about 80s horror. So kind of like you, Jordan, I know I love horror movies, and I've seen a lot on this list, but also there were quite a few movies on this list that I'd never seen. So like A Day of the Dead and Stepfather were two of them kind of stand out to me. I watched, but yeah, right on. I'm excited, man. We have a lot of awesome panelists.
Mm-hmm. Nice, yeah. And then we'll bring up one of our other returning guests who's been on a couple other of the horror episodes that we've been doing. We got Mark Edward Hoyk. How's it going, Mark?
Greetings. It is my honor to be joining this elite Blue Ribbon Fact-Finding Commission consisting of myself and Miss Betty Childs.
Right. Absolutely. And we'll bring up one of the OGs in the podcasting world who's worked with a lot of horror. We got William the Beast Bibiani. How's it going?
Hey, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here talking about all that scares you. Boo.
And a hearty boo and a growl.
Growl.
Yeah, right. And also we have the current Schmodown champ, the Coyote Adam Collins. How's it going?
Well, champion of some people's hearts, perhaps, but not the literal champion anymore. But I appreciate it. Yes. Yeah. That said,
just barely. Yeah.
That said, I'm working my way back to it. Give me time.
Yeah.
I am so excited to be here with Bibbs and Mark. Big fans of both of these guys long before I was ever a competitor, and getting to talk shop with them is its own reward. So let's get to it.
Honor to be here.
What Madam was the champ of is the Schmodown Horror Free for All. Adam Collins came out as champion.
I'll take that.
We have Mark Everett Hoyk, who was the Horror Free for All MVP, and William Bibiani, who I know if he'd been in it would have made it a very long time.
Well, in my defense, I am the only person on screen who is currently a champion I am the team's champ at the moment.
Right.
So I will.
Right.
I don't have my belt on me. It's getting buffed.
Okay.
But I am technically a champ. But I do.
But
love
my point is simply giving the resume of this panel is elite, top level, and if anybody's going to tackle 80s horror, it's these guys down here for sure.
Yeah, and also I want to preface, I kind of feel like I have the least experience with horror movies because I grew up in a pretty conservative household where like we were kind of discouraged when I was younger from actually watching horror movies, and I didn't really start watching them till my late teens, early 20s, and so a lot of these are first time watches for me. There's a good chunk that I haven't seen, so I feel like I'm a little out of my league compared to everyone on the panel, but I'm excited to learn what movies I need to check out, like which ones I'm definitely missing out on. So yeah, I'm excited for that. So
when I was a kid, I was actually so scared of horror movies that I didn't watch them. I had recurring nightmares of the doll from Child's Play, Chucky, and I hadn't even seen the film. I just saw the trailers and the clip. But eventually I started studying movies and reading Fangoria and realizing, oh, these are made by people. These are not documentaries. Jason isn't actually out there. And actually just a whole bunch of really creative people with amazing makeup decided to scare the crap out of me. And I respected that power so much that it just instantly became my favorite genre after that.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty much how I came to horror as well as Bibbs here. But I was scared of the Closet Killer logo from Paramount at the end of the Brady Bunch. So
we were all scared of that. We were all scared of that logo, Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just have to kind of bandwagon there. But with me, it was also I had gatekeeping older siblings who kind of just threw the gates wide open and fed me to the wolves at a very tender age. So, I saw things like Nightmare on Elm Street 3 specifically. That was the first Nightmare on Elm Street I saw. And I remember distinctly, I know for a fact I saw that before I saw Bambi, thanks to my brother. But yeah.
Another traumatizing film in its own way. You might have got it
right. But yeah, I left an indelible mark that I can't wait to explore over the next chunk of time here.
Yeah, and going back and watching some of these for the first time, like one of my favorite things is just all the practical effects. Like I miss like just having so much awesome practical effects. Like and they're so well done. Like so many of these just blew me away. So I'm excited to talk about it. So we'll just jump right into it. We have some rules here, some kind of ground rules that just kind of bring some order to the chaos just a little bit. So I'll throw those up on screen really quick, but basically the rules are: let's have a good clean fight. Please do not talk or shout over each other. Please do be respectful of others' opinions. Each person will take turns to select a movie for ranking. The person who selected the movie will have 1 minute to explain which tier they think it should go in and why. All other participants will then each have 1 minute to say why they agree or disagree and may suggest a new ranking. The host, which is me, will decide on a ranking that basically just averages out everyone's opinions and asks if the proposed ranking is acceptable. And at that point, we can have a little debate as to where we think that it should land on the tier ranker chart. So we'll just
and I usually am pretty good about keeping track of everybody's vote onto what tier each movie should go in, so I keep track of that, and we come to a nice little consensus about where it goes. Mark's very familiar about what it is, so that's for Adam and William, so you guys are the newbies here, but it should be a lot of fun. It'll breeze by. You won't believe how fast the time goes by once we get into this. It'll be a lot of fun.
Right.
Well, everyone knows I like to talk.
Oh yeah. Nothing wrong with that here. So I'm just bringing up our chart here, so this is kind of what we're going to be working with, and see, I'm going to set up so it's displayed correctly on my screen real quick. All right, so basically you have S for superior, and then it just goes like grades in school. So you got A, B, C, D, E, and then we just decide where all these are going to end up on the chart. And for the S tier, we only allow 10 in the S tier, and then all the rest of the tiers can have as many as you want in it. But we do want to have 3 honorable mentions because tomorrow I'm going to put our top 10 plus 3 honorable mentions that we decide as a group in the Showdown Friends and Family group that I run on Facebook and the community vote, so they can tear rankings apart if they want to, or who knows, they might agree with us. I mean, we'll find out. So.
Listen, if anybody disagrees with what Mark Everett Hork and William Bibbiani and Adam Collins have to say, you're just wrong at this point. So,
Right.
What if we disagree with each other?
you don't. Adam Collins knows more than you. He said so on many occasions, so you're just wrong.
Well, look, you ask 3 Schmodown players, you get 5 opinions. So
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right.
We already got some people chiming in the live chat here. We got John Bishop along with Chris a little bit. Sleepaway Camp and the Stepfather. So and Day of the Dead too. And then we got John once more saying the V of Viacom scared him when he was a kid. So
I feel your pain, John.
Yep. And also too. Is Reanimator on the list?
It's on the list.
Okay,
It's on the list. Oh, absolutely.
It's on the list. You'll see.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah.
Stuart Gordon has representation. From Beyond and Reanimator are both on the list for selection.
Yep.
So, absolutely. Oh, I didn't exclude them. So how it's going to work is I'm just letting you guys. So what we'll do is we'll start at the bottom and we'll go work our way up the tower here, kind of like Mortal Kombat, and we'll start down there with Adam. Adam, you will get to select our first film we get to talk about, nominate it for a ranking, and give us your reasoning, and then we'll go up the tower here and get everybody's opinion on it. So, Adam, you are a newbie to the show, but you get to go. You get to go first, man. You talk about whichever one you want to talk about and nominate it.
All right, and I can go with any film. I can go with any film regardless of the tier I'm nominating it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You can nominate any movie for any tier. You can just start things off, and it might shift around, but yes.
Would it? Am I allowed to start by saying that this film is firmly in A tier, but I am here to make an argument for S?
You can make an argument for S, absolutely.
Yeah.
But hey, go for it. You might get people agreeing with you. You never know, so go for it.
Yeah.
I want to start with something a little less obvious, but very dear to me, and that would be Pumpkinhead. So Pumpkinhead is a film directed by Stan Winston, known for his makeup effects. And the reason I like this film so much is first of all, it's one of Lance Henriksen's first really big starring roles. I mean, he had done, Near Dark was around the same time, obviously. But the thing about this film is it's very personal because it's a father and son story. And I think I'm allowed to give away the basic premise of the film. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So,
are like 30 years old. So yeah, go for it.
So the basic setup of the film is Lance Henriksen's son is killed in an accident by some irresponsible teenagers, and in his grief, Lance awakens this demon known as Pumpkinhead. The effects are really, really something to behold. And the reason I connect with the story so personally, I am a dad, but I also grew up with the film. So revisiting it since I became a father has kind of changed my perspective on it even more. That guy's getting after it.
Did someone just put that motorbike?
It's Jordan's dirt bike gang that goes by his window every night.
Yeah.
That actually wasn't me this time. I don't know.
Oh, was it? Okay. They were on the show last night.
Yeah, right.
The reason I think, now I don't want to undermine my own argument. It's S tier for me personally because I have a very strong connection to the movie. There's nostalgia, and it's grown on me as I've gotten older because of my personal history. But I also just love Lance Henriksen. I think he's a super underrated actor. At least in general, not by those who pay attention to him. And the film has a very interesting arc for his character that I won't get into major details with because I want people to discover the film, but it goes in places you don't expect. And it's a very interesting morality story with stellar effects. And it's a blast to watch. The thing that I think might keep it out of S tier is just that I know it's not as ubiquitous as a lot of these big films that we're going to discuss, but I do think it's really overlooked and more people should see it.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. We'll move on to William. What do you think about Pumpkinhead?
You know, Pumpkinhead was the film I hadn't seen since I was a kid, and I'm really glad I revisited it for this particular show because I remember thinking to myself, it's a pretty good monster movie. And watching it now, I'm really enamored of how much of a classic campfire tale this is. This feels like the kind of like misty, dreamy, supernatural tale that would like stem from the Victorian era and then just sort of get modernized for today. It's very classical in a lot of ways. The monster is awesome. I have a lot of affection for it. I'm just not 100% sure it's an S tier film, if only because I think its simplicity is. I think it's I don't want to say it's unremarkable because it is. It's a very striking film, but I guess I just think there's better films out there. But I do love this movie a lot. I will not fight it at A tier at all. I think it's an excellent motion picture, and I think it's a really good textbook example of how to do a low budget feature film right. And I yield my time.
All right.
Mark. No, that's all right, Mark.
Mark.
I'm pretty much in agreement with Bibbs. I have it ranked A tier. I have no objections with putting it in S tier, although that's not where I'm going to go with it. I think it doesn't quite make the big leap over the fence, but it is absolutely solid, and I think it does possess what most of my S tier picks have, which is that it has legitimate pain. I don't mean like physical impalement or violence, but I mean just emotional hurt and damage and loss in there, and I think that is what helps make really effective horror take that leap into something transcendent.
Yeah, for sure.
Chris, I know you watched this one either yesterday or today or something like that.
I literally just watched Pumpkinhead today, probably about 4 hours ago, and Lance Hendricks was just incredible. I thought whoever played that kid was solid. I don't know if he's gone on to do other roles, but I mean, all the teenagers were solid and believable. You got the one kid the one guy that's going through dilemma, really doesn't want to go to jail, so he's kind of like, screw you guys. But as you said, I'm not going to give away anything else. This movie was so much fun. It was scary in just the right places, and you're right. Bibiana definitely had like that campfire feel, and I would have to. I want it to be an S, but I also wouldn't argue with A either.
Okay. All right. Well, got a few votes for A. We got one for S. But Austin, what do you think?
Yeah, this is one that I just revisited a few days ago. I got the Scream Factory Blu-ray and popped that in, and yeah, I really connected to the story this time. I thought the father-son stuff was great. Yeah, Lance Henriksen, you can see the pain in his face when he's at the witch's cabin, kind of about to summon. He's having regrets, but he's also just not in the right state of mind. His performance is amazing. The actual Pumpkinhead monster, it's funny when you go to watch it, you think you're not going to see a lot of it. Some of these movies kind of just give you glimpses of it here and there, but like you see this thing hulking around like full view. I mean, it's amazing the effects work that went into this movie, and that's obviously all Stan Winston. He's a god amongst special effects artists. Again, I don't think I could go S tier with it. I think it's a really solid A, like midnight movie, only because, kind of like Viviana, I think there's better movies on this list that just edge it out. So I'm saving the S tier for some of those, but I give it a very strong A. I really, really enjoy it.
Well, and you guys started out with one of the ones I haven't seen, so like this is definitely one on my list to see. So yeah, I definitely
you gotta watch it.
Yeah, I sent you the DVD, Jordan. You just didn't have time.
There are 50 movies. Let's cut him some slack.
Yeah. He tried his best. I tried to give him as many of the S tier ones that I thought might make the S tier. So he has watched some of those. So he'll do his best. I promise.
Yeah, for the past 2 weeks, I'm watching like 2 to 3 these horror movies a day. So I mean,
it's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. We admire your conviction.
Been checking through, but so.
With 4 A's and an S, it kind of slides back down to A, but it's a very strong A. So it still has a chance at the end to make honorable mentions. It could,
and that's why you got to lead. You got to lead with S, and now look at Pumpkinhead. He's in a good place.
Yeah. Hey man, totally. he's got a strong spot right there for Pumpkinhead. I think he's going to get a revival very soon. I think he's
I feel like that's
he's
a
gonna make a
really
comeback.
big reboot. Like you could see like the Blumhouse Halloween treatment for Pumpkinhead. Like everyone knows it, but it's not that particularly famous a film, and you could totally just reboot that. And make
There's a handful of sequels.
yeah.
Yeah,
You could
but,
ignore them or
Yeah.
play with them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of possibilities.
But the Beast, you are up, sir. You get to nominate whatever you want, sir, and let's keep these rolling.
I'm totally with Mr. Collins here. I really want to lead with a film that I think is well respected, but I don't know if everyone else would agree that it is S tier, and I'm going to push it for being S tier because I don't just think this is like one of the best horror movies of the 80s. I actually think this is one of the best movies of the 80s, not just because it's well made, but I actually think it's a really salient statement about the 80s, and that's The Stepfather. Stepfather stars Terry O'Quinn, who nowadays is best known for Lost, but he gives an Oscar-level performance in this movie. He plays a man who he's a serial killer. He marries into families with single mothers, and he's in search of the American dream that the Reagan era has promised him, this 1950s Ozzie and Harriet perfection. And when he discovers that real life and people are complicated and dang it, no one's perfect, he kills the whole family and he moves on. It's a burn it all down philosophy to conservative life. And it's really, it's in a very Hitchcockian Shadow of a Doubt kind of way. It's beautifully suspenseful, somewhat understated in a lot of ways. And a lot of it boils down to just Terry O'Quinn really selling just how, I mean, he's a horrible human being. He's a monster, but he's also a tragic figure who feels like he's been lied to and he can't admit it to himself. And when people start breaking that reverie, you can see the panic in his face. Oh God, what if there is no perfection in the world? What if there is no nuclear family? And that's when he has to kill everybody and start over again. And the scene in the film where he's talking to his wife and she's talking to him and he's already mentally moved on to his next victims, and he starts acting the wrong character and he asks himself, who am I? Is one of the scariest moments of the 80s for me. I love this movie. I think it's a very smart statement about sort of the rise of conservatism in the 80s, and on top of it all, superb thriller on every level. And Terry O'Quinn, next level.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Mark.
Mark, what do you think? Yeah.
I'm not quite ready to take it to S tier, but this is definitely an A tier film for all the reasons Bibbs mentioned. I think it comes in a few years ago. I had the honor of writing notes for when the Bev screened it as part of a triple feature of Moms Dating a Serial Killer movies, along with Scream for Help by Michael Winner, which is I have a lot of problems with, and so did the screenwriter, because it eventually got it was Tom Holland's first screenplay that got produced, and then of course he went on and did Fright Night, which kind of mines the same territory, along with a underappreciated movie called Lisa with Cheryl Ladd. And oddly enough, The Stepfather has Shelley Hack. So we got two Charlie's Angels who made poor dating decisions. And the director on Stepfather, Joseph Rubin, I think is very underrated. He's made some really great grindhouse movies in the 70s. He did a couple movies for Crown International, one of them called Best Friends, which is, it starts off looking like this, kind of lighthearted hippie adventure. These two friends and their girlfriends are going to go on a Winnebago across the country, and then you gradually realize that one friend is way too fixated on his other friend and is trying to squeeze all the women, any other competitor for his affections out of the picture. So Rubin's got some skills.
He does, and I agree with a lot of what Mark said. I remember when the remake came out, I revisited this, and by the way, I think that is the poster of the remake that you have there.
It is.
Okay.
No big deal. But it is.
See,
Yeah.
it just showed you what I know.
But the original really does hold up. It's a great snapshot of the moment, like Bibb said, of the Reagan era. Also, just around that time, I think is when step families, especially a decade or more removed from the Brady Bunch, step families were much more normalized in pop culture, and like kind of capitalizing on that premise was pretty brilliant, and Terry O'Quinn did a great job. Ruben went on to it's a little more mainstream than what Mark was talking about, but I enjoy for what they are. I enjoy his 90s thrillers, Sleeping with the Enemy and The Good Son. I saw those.
Ooh, those are good movies.
Yeah, I saw those a long time ago. I've revisited them both many times, and I think they're solid, like 3.5 star thrillers. But Stepfather, I think, surpasses them both and is firmly an A-tier horror film. I don't think it reaches the status of like an all-timer necessarily of the 80s, but definitely.
All right.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Adam kind of jumped around the order, so we'll go to Chris next and jump back kind of in. But that's okay.
No, you're good.
He's a special guest.
I'm
That's all right.
a newbie.
But no, it's okay.
Sure, Adam,
But
I'll
I
give you a
know.
pass, man.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
I'll
know,
listen
Chris.
to- I'll listen to
You
instructions.
watched this one recently too. Yeah, you
I
watched
did watch this one
too. What'd you think?
recently, but I kind of want to say like on this. So the director was new to me, so I didn't know he did Sleeping with the Enemy, which I loved. So I'm a child of '84, so I definitely remember seeing that one, and also I remember The Good Son. The Good Son still stands out to me. It's a fucking amazing movie. But The Stepfather to me, like right from the very beginning, I'd never really seen Terry O'Quinn in anything, and it was just like he was creepy. I mean, the movie, the way the movie opens is just shocking. And then he casually walks out of the house, like straightens his tie and whistles "Doodle Dandy," I believe, while he's walking down away from the house, just casually through a beautiful suburban neighborhood. Is just captivating. So that grabbed me from the very beginning. The music I thought was powerful. This movie just drew me right along. And just the idea that we knew, or I knew what he was, but his family didn't catch on to it at all. They didn't know what he did until we slowly start putting together the pieces. I would argue for it's definitely a solid S tier for me. Terry Quinn delivered an unbelievable performance. Seriously, just chilling. He just plays such a good, menacing bastard. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Austin, what do you think?
Yeah, this is one I discovered about 6 months ago, actually, not even in prep for this one, just scrolling around some horror movies I hadn't seen, some blind spots. And yeah, it really caught me. To me, it's like it's like a B horror movie, but with an S level performance from Terry O'Quinn. So to me, that balances out, like with the S and the B, like puts it in that A tier, but it definitely makes it stand out amongst those other movies about, sort of an evil spouse or dad or, whatever you want to call it. But it's a really, really good movie. Again, I can't quite put it in S just because of some of the other movies on here that I think have a larger scale and just actually hit my heart a little bit more. So again, it's a very strong A. I think there's going to be a lot of A movies on this list that are really, really good. And, I don't think there's a lot of really bad stuff on here, but to me, it's another really solid A.
Yeah, so I'll just say that funny enough, I have seen Sleeping with the Enemy, and I have seen The Good Son, but I have not seen The Stepfather. So I have to abstain from this one again. So this is one that's definitely on my list to watch for sure. And I have seen the remake of it, but I have not seen the better of the two, by far the original. So I gotta go back and watch that. So
well, with 2 S's and 3 A's, Pumpkinhead only had 1 S, but it goes above Pumpkinhead in the A tier. So it's still a strong contender up there. So it's still very strong.
Right there.
But still a nice showing for The Stepfather.
Yeah, so we'll throw it over to
we
Mark.
are moving on to Mark. Yeah, your turn, sir.
Okay. Well, my nomination for S tier, I think it's possibly one that people are expecting, but I have to give credit where credit is due, and that is Reanimator. I feel like this
Someone help me find the poster. Is that it?
No,
that's from Beyond.
From Beyond.
Scroll
Look
down
for
a
the
little
guy
bit.
with the syringe. Down,
Yeah, down to the
then
bottom,
up there
bottom
we
row.
go.
Oh, there you go.
Bottom row, in the
Right
middle. There
Yep,
you go.
right there.
All right. Reanimator.
Yeah, because it's already got scary source material. Oh no, well for S tier.
Okay. S
Yeah.
tier, right?
Mhm.
We'll throw it up there.
It's got scary source material up front. It's got crazy lurid special effects, and it is one of those movies where you're sitting there thinking, are they going to go there? Oh, they went there, and repeatedly. That I will never forget the fact that I rented this blind for my 17th birthday, and I had a big party at my house with a lot of my friends who are much more vanilla than I am, and they were not prepared for what went down. To this day, they're when I talk to them on Facebook, they're still scarred by what they saw in Reanimator.
All right.
Yeah, Chris. Well, what do you think of the Reanimator?
So this is sadly one of the movies in my watches that I never got to watch, but yet an amazing horror documentary, In the Search of Darkness, which you've never seen. It's absolutely phenomenal horror documentary. They actually talked about a lot about Reanimator. They interviewed like the different directors and stuff like that. I seriously cannot wait to check this movie out, and especially based on your opinion, Mark. Yeah, so I'll definitely have to watch this one.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I need to correct myself. Joseph Rubin did not direct Best Friends. That was Noel Nosek. Joseph Rubin did make 2 movies for Crown, but they were not horror. So, mea culpa.
All right.
Let's throw that one up there
Respect.
for fun. Yep. Right. Watching Reanimator at his birthday.
Right.
But Austin, what do you think?
Yeah, Mark, this is always one that in my head, I've gone back to it a couple of times, was always kind of like an A-level movie. And then I rewatched it about a week ago, and I hadn't revisited it in a little while. This movie's S-level. It's fucking awesome. Like, Reanimator's so damn good. It's like Mark was talking about. You don't quite know what you're going to expect from act to act, and it goes to places that you could never think even a horror movie could go, and it keeps pushing the boundaries, and it plays with almost like a zombie genre. But you see, what I like about the movie is when they get injected with the stuff in their brain, it looks like it's painful, like to come back to life. Like these bodies are in pain, like they're suffering from bringing back to life, as you can imagine. But Jeffrey Combs is always a lot of fun. He's a favorite kind of horror character actor, and David Gale steals that movie. As the just the head, and it's just taunting him in the bowl. It's so great. But yeah, it was an A for a while until I did the rewatch, and I just had an absolute blast. And I think it deserves to be near the top of the chart. I don't know about the top of the chart, but throw it in that 9 or 10 slot, and I'd be perfectly happy with that.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, so I had a choice on 2 movies to watch today. It was between Reanimator and Night at the Creeps, and I chose Night at the Creeps. So I've not seen Reanimator yet, but it's like literally like out of all these movies, this is like the next one that I'm planning to watch. I may even watch it tonight when we're finished here, honestly. So yeah, but I'll stay out of this one again. But we'll throw it to Adam. What do you think?
Yes, I was making sure I waited for my name. I'm sorry about that.
No, you're okay.
No, you're good.
So firmly S tier for me. There's no question. I discovered this movie in middle school, enjoyed it on and off, as well as the sequels through high school and college. And then I didn't see it for the better part of a decade, and then I rewatched it like a year and a half ago, and I had the time of my life. And the reason I think it's S tier is because it's, a modern retelling of Frankenstein in a lot of ways, that's fitting for the decade it was released. Jeffrey Combs emerges as this great character actor in this role. Barbara Crampton, who's just a legendary actress in the genre at this point, who really embraces the genre and its fans and its traditions. She's so good in it. and I just like the goopy effects. I really like it, and I like how it's kind of bled out into pop culture in a lot of ways. And we see these actors come up again in other movies in the genre, not just Crampton, but Combs and Gale and everyone else. So, yeah, and I think it also has built on its reputation over the years, and it's become even more prevalent over time. So, yeah, I back up S tier.
All right, Beast.
Right.
I agree with all of that. Although the thing that hasn't really, there are two things that haven't really been said about Reanimator, and one is that I think it's easily the best H.P. Lovecraft adaptation because it's the least Lovecraft of anything. It's Lovecraft just flat out ripping off Frankenstein, and the movie is completely fine with that. And it just tries to tell the absolute best modern version of it. And in addition to having great gore, in addition to having wonderful character actors, I actually just really, 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 really enjoy the way this movie tells its story. I think they understand how a low-budget splatterhouse horror movie has to move. You can't just get by on gore. You do have to make sure it's an engaging, thrilling story. The opening scene of this movie for me is one of my favorite openings in all of horror, where someone's dying in this horrifically gruesome way, and the woman yells, "He killed him!" And Herbert West says, "No, I gave him life." And then the complete rip-off Psycho music starts playing.
Right.
I love it to pieces. It's a wonderfully told story, and I think Herbert West is one of the best characters in all of horror movies. He's such a dick. He is such an unlikable person, but you're captivated by him because he so believes in what he's doing, and he is technically right. He is technically onto something, and so you kind of do want him to push further because he's almost there. If only we didn't have to decapitate so many people because the experiment doesn't work yet. So yeah, definite S tier. Love it.
All right. Well, we got 4 solid S tiers, so it stays in S tier. Absolutely. Yep. Reanimator, our first solid S tier of the evening. Absolutely.
Yeah. So now we throw it over to Chris. You're up. So
all right.
What you got?
So a movie that was a first for me, but also I believe definitely belongs in S tier. It might not be in front of Reanimator, so I'm comfortable putting it behind there. But so I'd heard about it before. I saw it referenced in Stranger Things when he's like, "I'm gonna blow you up, blow your mind up." Is Scanners. That movie surprised the fuck out of me. I thought it was just an amazing movie from beginning to end. Yes, it right next to Videodrome.
Second to last row. Black, scary.
Oh yeah, in the middle. Yeah, Michael Ironside with his head. Yeah.
So this movie just surprised the hell out of me, and it was engaging. It was fun. I thought like I enjoyed the slow build because you cared about the characters and what they were going through. So it's definitely an S tier, and the practical the practical effects were absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, definitely an S tier movie.
All right, Austin. What do you got?
I feel like I just kind of
no.
This is another one I rewatched a few days ago. I hadn't seen it in a minute. I like Scanners. I don't love Scanners. I like the idea of Scanners more than I kind of like the movie of Scanners. I think there's some interesting stuff that is kind of introduced, and I've forgotten the famous head exploding scene was like 10 minutes into the movie. I thought that was like near the end, or at least from what I remembered. But they kind of blow their wad with their best thing, like right in that opening, and then to me, it just kind of it meanders around. There's an interesting sort of conspiracy story, this underground of psychics. I like a lot of the ideas in Scanners. I think this is one. Maybe I was talking about things that are ripe for remakes. I would actually like to see this one re-explored a little bit. I think they could do a lot with it. It's another one where the ideas are great, and what I like to see in remakes is ideas that were great but didn't quite get there, and I'd like to see them explored a little bit more. So for me, Scanners is more like a B level because I think there's a Cronenberg movie on here that deserves more of the S tier. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, and I'll say that I have seen the 2 other Cronenberg movies on the list, but I have yet to see Scanners, so I still am I'm yet to rank a movie yet. But when those 2 come up, I'll definitely talk about those ones. So you guys are just hitting all my movie holes. So, but we'll go to Adam.
Yeah, I really enjoy Scanners for what it is. I think it's a solid A-level Cronenberg movie with an S-tier level performance from Michael Ironside. And the effects are, obviously pretty unforgettable. I think what's interesting about the movie is it's one of those movies that in the 80s, was like kind of an X-Men movie before an X-Men movie came out, or just superhero movies in general. And having that happen in a sci-fi horror style film made it very interesting. I think it's unfortunate that the film is reduced to the head explosion scene. But the flip side of that is if that gets people to see Scanners, I think that's a good thing. But yeah, I think it's a ponderous Cronenberg movie with a lot of cool scenes in it, a lot of amazing effects. It's well worth revisiting, but it's not one I go back to a lot. So I'd put it in A, but I wouldn't go lower than that personally.
Okay,
All right.
I'm kind of with Collins on this one. There's a lot I admire in Scanners, but I do agree with the criticism that I think it peaks a little early. I think the opening scene is so gigantic in conception and execution that, as interesting as the rest of the movie is, it never quite recovers from that, and it's really hard for me to really get on the same groove with the pacing of the movie as a result. I appreciate this is David Cronenberg's X-Men movie, but there are other horror X-Men movies that I like better than this one. I think it's a little too heady to fully embrace
what you did there.
That. Yeah, well, but it's true. And so listen, I like this one a lot, but for me, this is a B-tier movie with an S-tier opening. Unfortunately, I don't think it's quite good enough to get it to an A, but for me, it's a solid B. Like a rock solid B. And if it ends up an A, I'm not going to complain.
Right.
All right, Mark.
Well, Mark, what do you think?
Scanners is one of the few big gaping holes in my Cronenberg CV. So I can't really weigh in on this. That being said, I have vivid memories of when my parents got divorced is only then that I first started being allowed to see R-rated movies. And my dad took me to see Stir Crazy, and there was a teaser for Scanners up front, and they made two different trailers. They made a PG trailer which had random clips from the movie, but then the R-rated teaser was just the head explosion scene. And I was not prepared for that at 9 years old in the best way possible.
I wouldn't have been either.
Right.
Well, Jordan,
that red band was
Scanners,
there for a reason.
We've got an S, an A, and two B's. So unfortunately, the B's kind of drag it down to the bottom of A for right now, but it can stay in A because of the voting.
Well, we'll say that I did go back and watch that red band trailer, and I saw the whole wad being blown with the head being blown up. So I definitely have seen that moment at least.
It's a hell of a moment.
It's pretty infamous, yeah.
Yeah, but Austin, you're
on
up,
me.
So.
All right. Well, we're kind of in this first round going for personal favorites that maybe we're pushing for. So I'll probably do the same thing with the movie. It's S level in my heart, but I'm fully aware it might end up in A. I'm going to go with the 88 remake of The Blob, and I'm going to talk about that for a minute.
Right.
The Blob is a movie that has just captured my soul, and I have gone back to it so many times, just numerous times. I go back to this movie every 6 months. I love it so much. I think it's an amazing remake in the best way, where it took another idea from the 50s and just went all out and balls out with it in the 80s. Tremendous special effects. I mean, some of the best practical effects I've ever seen in a film, with people getting covered. The phone booth scene is amazing. You have an incredible list of character actors in the film. Jeffrey DeMond, you've got Art LaFleur, you've got the toxic waist guy from RoboCop. You got Kevin Dillon and Shawnee Smith. You got all kinds of people you recognize. You got Chuck Russell directing, who directed Dream Warriors. He directs the hell out of this movie. You got a Frank Darabont script, which the script is elevated because of that, and all the characters have arcs. You have great callbacks throughout the movie. It's just so much fun. It's so much fun. It's so stylistic. I think it creates a great atmosphere. I'm really pushing for The Blob. I think it's one of the I think it's a remake that deserves to be in the same vein as like The Fly and The Thing as far as great horror remakes, and I'm glad it's kind of had a revival over the years and finally got that Scream Factory Blu-ray, which is great. Finally got its due. So I'm pushing for The Blob.
Well, good job, Austin. You finally picked one I've seen. All right.
Yay! It's only because I told you to watch it.
Yeah, right. This is one of the first ones that you recommended. Actually, it might even have been the first one that I watched it in preparation for this episode, and I really loved it. Like, I thought that it was great. Like, there's so many fun character actors that just pop up, and I love the whole scene between the main guy and the main girl. I'm not as good with all the names.
Kevin Dillon and Shawnee Smith from Shawnee Smith
right.
And Kevin Dillon from Entourage. Early on.
But like riding around on his motorcycle and all that fun stuff, and then just the way that the blob kind of attaches itself to people like that, like it just kind of just like comes out of nowhere where they're like, what the hell is this? And then all of a sudden they're just like totally engulfed. And but I will say though that just because of the sheer like class of movies that we have on the list, I don't know if I could go a solid S. I mean, I'd be okay if it ended up in S, but I think for me it ends up at the top of A for me. So that's kind of where I'm sitting with it. But
all right.
But Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think The Blob is one of the best remakes in the genre. Definitely one of the best remakes that came out in the 80s. I have a really soft spot in my heart for the original Blob. Love Steve McQueen playing a high schooler. It's a really
years old or whatever it is.
And the theme song is one of those catchy things ever written. I'm sure Bibbs could do a stirring rendition if. So. Yes, it's so good. It's so good. So this remake from Chuck Russell, I thought was fantastic. Curious choice, giving Kevin Dillon a shot at leading a movie, so early in his career, but he did have a very successful brother. And I think he does a great job in this movie. I think it's one of his better pieces of work because he's not trying to be cool or anything. There's not a whole lot of self-awareness in this performance. Shawnee Smith gives a good early performance. The effects are just unforgettable when you're watching it. What holds me back from S tier is that the Blob remains a really fascinating creature feature that shows how a small town reacts under pressure and things like that. And I always love those kinds of stories. But for me, the thing that elevates it is the fact that it's a very aggressive R-rated remake of a very campy movie, and I think that's what makes it really unique. But it's not one that I again personally revisit, and I don't think it's as discussed as some of the films we're yet to get into. But I also think it's overdue for another remake. I think that's a premise that's infinitely redoable, and I think this proves that you can continue making it. So A tier for me for sure. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, William.
All right.
I like this movie a lot. I think the effects are top tier for the 1980s and beyond. It's interesting because it's a really, really good remake of a movie I think is really, really good. And it manages to, for me though, all it really does is improve the visual effects and the gore, but the story itself was fine. So they didn't really completely alter that in any way. And for me, that makes it feel just like a fun update rather than a truly great remake. It's not even, if I'm going to split hairs, it's not even my favorite Blob movie of the 80s. I put The Stuff ahead of it. But I do like it a lot. But for me, this is a B tier. This is a really rock solid, top of the B tier, awesome monster movie. But yeah, I don't revisit it very often. I mostly just think of the telephone booth and smile.
All right, Mark.
Well, Mark, what do you think of the Blob?
I've got this at A. For it really took me by surprise just how good this movie was when I saw it. Because I mean, I was expecting it to be entertaining, but it was my first taste of the sensibilities that both Chuck Russell and Frank Darabont have brought to all of their material. I can't really kick it into S tier simply because there's just too much good stuff, and there is no shame in having an A or even a B. They can't.
Not at all.
They're all good dogs, Brent.
Most A horror movies in the 80s are better than a lot of horror movies today. So that's saying a lot.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Chris, what do you think of the Blob?
So I have seen it, but at the same time, I haven't rewatched this in a while. But I do remember when I did watch it that it was intense. But also, I also feel like I watched the original, and like Bibiani said, I don't feel like it really they did much to kind of up the story. Although with the R rating with the gore, I feel like they did up the intensity of it. So you felt like you were a little more like this could happen. So for that reason, I would say it belongs in an A tier.
All right. Well, it pretty much has around the same voting style of Pumpkinhead, so it goes right next to Pumpkinhead.
Right. Yeah, I would agree. I'll throw
it's got one A and a bunch of S's and one B, so it goes kind of right next to Pumpkinhead.
1B. Yeah.
All right.
So we'll throw it there. So,
well, Jordan, it's your turn, so you can pick something you've seen and
right.
Hey.
Well,
woohoo!
Well, first off, I want to say I'm going to try a little experiment because the one that I wanted to talk about on here, I realized I did not include a graphic for it, and I did it on my phone while you guys were talking. I'm going to hit the refresh button, and in lieu of having to just add these 5 movies back, I don't think that would be too hard if we have to, but it may pop up because it's on my phone here. So I'm going to hit it.
Okay.
We'll see what will happen. We may just have to throw those 5 up there, and it may not even work at all. We'll see. Okay, so those are there.
Normal view.
There.
Normal view.
Normal.
And it's here. So yeah. So the movie I wanted to talk about was John Carpenter's Halloween. This is like in my top.
That's 1978. That's not 80.
It's 1978, dude.
Oh,
That's
that's why.
78. That's why it's
That's
not
why I
on
didn't
there.
include it. You're right.
It's not 80s.
Right.
Yeah.
It's super
Nice,
amazing,
bro.
and I would totally agree with you.
You got to wait till we get to our
Alright.
70s horror show. Sorry.
That's another show.
I will happily do that show.
Yes,
Well, the
we're gonna do
Yeah.
Well, the effects in it, I'll just say, are so good it seems like the 80s. I'll just say that. Like, you can easily feel like this movie came out in the 80s. Well,
it. There's a Halloween movie on this list, but not Halloween the original. Yes.
right, and that one I haven't seen, so I'm going to go with another one. Probably the one when I was doing all my first time watches, the movie that actually scared me the most out of watching them for the very first time, and that is Hellraiser. Like Hellraiser was like one of the few movies that I probably watched it like way too late at night. It's probably probably around midnight when I watched it, and then like this movie really creeped me out. And there's just something about as a kid, I remember seeing just the cover to the movie Hellraiser, and like that alone was enough to just be like I don't know if I ever want to see that movie. That looks like really terrifying. Like if I saw that guy like anywhere, I don't know what I would do. I would drop dead from being so scared. But for me, I got to give it S tier all the way. Just for the pure fact that when they use the little puzzle cube thing, they summon all kinds of different like demons from hell or
The
whatever you wanna call it. You
Cenobites.
call it- yeah, right. So that
Cenobites.
And
Like,
Mark
yeah, like-
Mhm.
and all the practical effects that they use are just really, really cool. Like I think that the Pinhead's one of the most unique characters that we've ever had in a horror movie. So yeah, for me, I got to go S tier for Hellraiser. So yeah, we'll throw it to Adam. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Hellraiser. The thing I love about it, obviously, Pinhead's iconic, but what's great about it is he's just the tip of the iceberg when you watch this movie. Before you even get to the Cenobites, the gentleman at the center of the story with no skin, he alone haunts my dreams. That said, it also launched a pretty interesting, if not a bit uneven, franchise. I think a theatrical reboot is long overdue. That's made with love. I also think they need to do a tie-in at Cinnabon with Halloween-themed Cenobites because they do Cinnabites at Cinnabon. But they haven't done Cenobites.
I get it.
I want to see that happen. But
insert Cary Grant "Get Out" meme here.
Yes.
That said, the movie itself, I think, is fascinating because it's a deconstruction of our concept of hell. It literalizes it in a lot of ways, but it also challenges a lot of traditional concepts of hell and makes it just a very existential journey in a lot of ways. Even though there's a lot of physicality to, Eric gets it. Even though there's a lot of physical horror to this movie, I find it to be very emotionally horrifying. And I personally have it in S tier. We'll see how crowded it gets at the final stretch. It might bump it down, but I have it in S tier myself for all those reasons.
All
right. Well, William, what do you think?
I'm in an interesting place in Hellraiser. I like Hellraiser a lot. I think Hellraiser is a very distinct achievement in horror. The scene where Frank comes back to life from blood on the floor is one of the great horror scenes of any decade. What holds Hellraiser back from S tier for me, and it's a solid A, but what holds it back for me is I actually think that a lot of the things that we take away from Hellraiser are actually introduced in Hellraiser 2. Hellbound Hellraiser 2 is, in my opinion, the best of the series and one of my favorite horror movies of the 80s. And it didn't make this list, but honorable mention. And I think that's the one that actually gives us that fascinating, defining, for me, perception of hell, not just as a geographical space, but also as a state of mind. And I feel they sort of allude to that here, but they kind of dump all of the concepts of sort of the mythology of Hellraiser, like at the end. And I just think structurally that's a little forced. And I also think there's a couple of supporting performances that are a little awkward and stilted. And sometimes that gives the movie like this wonderful dreamlike quality. And sometimes I'm just waiting for the good stuff to come back. But the good stuff is so amazingly good and so wonderfully creepy and sensual and violent that it is a solid A for me. It's just not it.
Yeah, for sure. Mark, what do you think?
I'm going to put it in the S tier, even though some of Bibbs's criticisms are noted and agreed upon. I feel like it came out with such guns blazing in terms of what could be put on screen and the ideas that could be explored, and the fact that Barker had never directed anything and so was just kind of flying off the seat of his pants to put up ideas that were in his head, and he got so many of them out there, and in the process made them all iconic. So I think just for sheer impact, I feel like it needs to be an S tier.
Right.
And Chris.
So this movie scared the hell out of me. It's definitely one of the movies that also like stands out to me. Like as you said, one of the scenes like with the skin off the body. But yeah, there are definitely some moments in this movie. But for the most part, I think that Pinhead in general, I think it definitely is an S tier for sure.
Yeah.
So, just to clarify, would you put the movie itself in S tier or just the Pinhead?
Movie.
Like, where do you put the movie?
I mean, the
movie's in S tier?
the movie.
Yeah.
The movie.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so you vote S. Okay. I'm right in line with Bibiani in this one because I actually like Hellraiser 2 more than Hellraiser, and I think only because I think Tony Randall directs Clive Barker better than Clive Barker, and kind of knows what to do with a lot of that stuff. And he expands on the mythology and kind of just takes it to the nth degree on that one. I do really like Hellraiser. It's one I hadn't revisited in a long time and watched it again. I think it does a lot of things really effectively, but I think like there's a few of the performances. Claire Higgins is really wonky in that movie. Like it's a strange performance, but there's fantastic imagery. But for me, it goes into a strong A tier, just personally, for me. But
so what was the votes?
We do have 4 S tiers and 2 A's.
4 S tiers.
And Reanimator had four votes overall, but only S is only 4 people have seen it. But it kind of stays right where it's at right now.
Yeah.
So it stays in the S tier.
Fair enough.
That sounds about
all right.
About right. So with that, we're back to Adam. So you're up again. And
I feel like we need some more solid S tier, unanimous S tiers on this one because we're an hour in. We only got 2.
Yeah.
But that's up to you, Adam. You can pick whatever you want, though.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say briefly on Hellraiser, because Hellraiser 2 is not on the list, I kind of was cheating and just kind of, like thinking of it as a representative of the franchise in my mind. So want to give credit where credit's due. I agree.
I considered putting it on the list, but I didn't know the feelings overall on Hellraiser 2 kind of in the horror community. I just thought like Hellraiser was like more representative of that franchise. So that's why I just included that one. But if we do a redux of 80s movies, we could. I could definitely put it on if we do a part 2 maybe.
Always ideal to watch those.
Next year or so.
Always ideal to watch those 2 back to back. Great double feature.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they both roll.
I gotta go just with a big obvious one that I am personally obsessed with, but I think the world's obsessed with it. We can't dodge all the obvious choices forever, guys. The Shining. It's an S tier film.
Oh yeah.
So look, The Shining's infinitely dissected. So many of us are obsessed with this film. I am among them. As I admitted on Dan Merle and I were talking about Twister, and I told him that I came clean. Twister was my gateway drug to Kubrick, technically, because
there you go.
Because I know it's crazy, right?
No, it's wonderful. I love it.
But I was almost 9, almost 10 years old when Twister came out, and I was obsessed with Twister and thought it was so much fun. And I still think it's a blast. I love it. Not on this list. But the Shining in the drive-in scene, like I sought out that film after that, and I saw it way too young because, like I said, I was like 10. I saw The Shining by the time I was turning 10 years old, and I was like, all right. But then I read the book, and the book helped me understand the film more, and it helped me contextualize like my fear of the movie. And then I went back and revisited the movie, and it's a lot like Danny facing his fears, not only in that movie, but later in Dr. Sleep, which is unrelated to this particular episode. But like The Shining, I just, that was my entry to Kubrick as well. So the precision of the film, the pacing of it, the performances, the otherworldliness of the style, the fact that movie was beyond any concept of a horror film that I had ever thought of. I saw it before I saw The Exorcist, and but to this day, The Shining, it's hard not to say it's it's easily in my top 5 favorite horror movies. But even I think what says that it's such a success is that Stephen King has always had a problem with it, and I like that it exists separate from his book because his book's very personal, and this film is more focused on Jack in a lot of ways than Danny and Wendy, and that's what I like about it. I want to yield the floor because there's so much to say about this, but it's an S tier film, and I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah, for sure. Wayne, what do you think?
Yeah, this is an S tier film. I think this is one of, if not the greatest horror movies ever made. I think this movie, the reason why this movie has such longevity is because it can be everything to all people. It's a great haunted house story. It's also an incredible story about a family living with the specter of abuse, where you're just waiting for dad to go off again. It could be today, it could be in months, it could be forever. But you know he has before, and you're waiting for it to happen. And I think that's what Kubrick glommed onto in The Shining. And I actually think because The Shining, and Stephen King's talked about this, is such a personal story to Stephen King, and Stephen King has wrestled with substance abuse, I think Stephen King has more sympathy for Jack than Kubrick does. I think Kubrick is telling the story from Danny's perspective on his dad as this monster who's going to turn into a minotaur in a maze at any time. And I think Dr. Sleep is a wonderful counterpoint to that because it's about Danny understanding the story of The Shining from his dad's own perspective and understanding that his dad, though monstrous, was a human being. And I think that's why the movie works so well, but I digress. I think The Shining is a damn near perfect horror movie, and which makes it a damn near perfect movie. And I yield the floor because, this is S tier, and I think this is really argument that it should be number one.
Right, yeah. Chris, what do you think?
And Mark's having technical difficulties, by the way. He's working on it, so we'll get him back as soon as possible.
We'll let him chime in as soon as he comes back.
We'll let him chime in as soon as he gets back, yeah.
So, Adam, I feel like I saw this movie probably about when I was 9 or 10, and it definitely stuck with me. Like the make Jack a dull boy when it comes to life and starts typing that over and over again. When you see him talking to the bartender, you realize is not there. Like, those are moments that just stand out to me and give me chills still today. Then I had a moment where a good friend of mine named Travis, who I went back and watched this, he loved it so much. And after a first watch, he watched it like 10 more times. So absolutely this movie is, sure it has its issues, but I think at the end of the day, it's a perfect horror movie. For sure. It's an S tier. Absolutely.
Well, it might be unanimous. Let's see, Austin.
Wendy, darling, light of my life. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just going to bash your brains in. Just going to bash them right the fuck in. I'll keep it the briefest of the brief. Shining is S tier. It's fucking awesome. It's an obvious one, and it looks great in 4K. S tier. I'll move on.
Yeah, and so The Shining's one of those movies. I actually read the book first. I was a little late to The Shining game. I mean, I've watched it maybe like 6 years ago, so I'm definitely late to the party on the Shining. But absolutely loved everything about it. I thought it was great from start to finish, and I enjoyed the book a lot as well. And I mean, I'd pretty much echo everything you guys have said. I mean, we could do a whole episode probably just on The Shining itself, just talking about that movie. But I think S tier for sure definitely belongs.
All right. Well, we don't have Mark's vote at the moment, but with 5 votes, it gets even more Reanimator, or goes to the top right now.
Yep.
So as of right now.
All right.
All right. And again, we'll talk to Mark as soon as he settles his internet issues at the coffee shop he's at. But for right now, we'll move on to Bibiani. And
all right. There's a solid. If we're gonna stop dilly dallying and just get to some of the solid, like hopefully we can agree on these, and if not, it'll be quite a story. S tier suggestions. Well, let's just get right into it. This is a movie that perhaps more than any other is the reason why I fell in love with the horror genre. Again, I talked about conceptually, but this I think is the movie because not only is it one of the most entertaining movies I think ever made, it's also one of the most inventive independent films ever made. And even though you can see the scenes and the costumes, it doesn't matter because you're completely engaged in Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn.
Right.
The first film, the first Evil Dead, is absolutely nightmarish, but I also think it's I actually think it overplays its hand a few times. I think the tree scene is shocking to the point of being difficult to watch. And I don't think Evil Dead 2 ever makes that mistake. I think Evil Dead 2 understands that this is a film about a guy trapped in a cabin with demons that are trying to drive him insane and going to the weirdest lengths any demon has ever gone to in order to achieve that goal. From the scene where Bruce Campbell fights his own hand, which is a brilliant comedic routine, like right out of a Buster Keaton film, to the incredible just whirling dervish camel work, to the absolute fire hoses full of blood. Wonderful sense of humor, definitely shocking, and it's the kind of film where no matter how many times you see it, because it is paced and edited in such an off-puttingly wonderful way, you always forget where the shocks are, and you can watch this movie with the same audience at a midnight screening 10 times, and they'll jump every time. It is maybe not the most like I can't fall asleep tonight scary movie on the list, but it is probably the most entertainingly spill your popcorn scary film on the list.
All right,
Yeah, for
Chris.
sure. Chris, what do you think?
So, it has been a while since I've seen Evil Dead 1 and 2. So I like them, but I don't feel like I loved them, and I tried to love them. But I know it has a cult following, so I probably would not put it in S tier, but I would probably put it in A tier.
Okay.
All right. Well, fair enough. Austin, what do you think?
Evil Dead 2 is an S. It gets better and better every time I watch it. It's a movie that I was kind of, again, lukewarm on it the first time I saw it. Like I think a lot of people are when the first time they see it. And then you see the inspirations of cinema within it. Like Bibiani was talking about, all like the silent film kind of slapstick. Like I'm a big Three Stooges fan, so I love that stuff where, he's getting poked in the eyes by his own hand and, doing all this crazy, hitting himself with the plates. I love the morbid sense of humor when he's just laughing at the deer on the wall and just maniacally laughing. The camera work is tremendous when it's chasing him through the house and all the little crevices and through the doors. It's amazing what they did with this movie on such a little budget that it's just so much fun. Again, I appreciate the sensibility. Sam Raimi is the man, and I love that he throws a lot of this stuff into his other movies, even Spider-Man 2, and the hospital sequence is amazing. You can definitely tell it's right out of Evil Dead. Yeah, I won't say much more about it. I love Evil Dead 2, and it's definitely an S tier for me.
Yeah, so we really hate to be the lone dissenter here, but like I watched the Evil Dead 2 recently, and for whatever reason, I just didn't really like it that much. Like mostly just because the way that it was filmed, like there's all these fast scenes of him zooming around really fast, and all these crazy like shaky camera things, and just like weird shots through the wood, and then there's like scenes that like literally feel like it's like out of like a Three Stooges movie, or like you said, Buster Keaton, Bibiani, and so it just kind of didn't really feel like a. Like, I don't know, like it just felt really out of place. Like there's so many scenes. I mean, like it was scary. Like when the scares came, they were pretty scary. But at the same time, like it was an independent movie, and for me, it really shows. Like it just looks like everything's really cheaply done. Like you can do an independent movie and actually make it like not look so much like independent movie. And I gotta rank it like pretty low. Like I'll be nice and give it a C tier. I almost want to go D, but I'll say C. Like
Wow.
it just didn't really go from that. But I am excited to see.
I told him, I did tell him, William, it kind of comes with time. I think he needs to give it a rewatch in a couple of months or a couple of rewatches here and there.
I'm
It comes
not
with time.
disregarding his opinion. I'm surprised, but I'm not.
No.
Like,
That's what I told him.
like, oh, you're wrong. Like, no. You still.
Oh yeah.
That's
No.
fine. You don't
Totally.
need
I'm
to
glad he's being.
fair.
I'm glad he's being honest because that's what he told me. And when after he watched it, when I told him to watch it,
Please.
so I appreciate his honesty. Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's fair.
I have seen Ash vs. Evil Dead, and absolutely I love that series. So I'm excited to watch Army of Darkness. It's the one in the series that I haven't seen. So hopefully that will resonate a little more. But yeah, so C tier is what I'm getting.
All right. Well, Adam.
But Adam.
Well, Jordan, sounds like you're kind of hopping around in the franchise. So when you're all caught up,
Right.
definitely like go back and just do the Evil Dead through Ash versus Evil Dead,
Right.
and including the remake. Because that's very important. And then this upcoming new film sounds very exciting. So
Yeah.
Evil Dead 2's interesting because I personally have it in S tier because it's the arrival of the series, but it's not just it didn't know it was that. We know that historically, like it set the tone for the rest of the series in a lot of ways, which has become iconic. But what I love about Evil Dead 2 is it doubles down and reinvents a movie that already came out. And it's so fascinating to watch a filmmaker remake his own film, which many filmmakers have done. But to do it in this way and to market it as a sequel is so fascinating because that gets butts in the seats. Even if people haven't seen the first one, they're like, oh, well, it's a sequel, like maybe if it's good, more will come out. So people went out of curiosity and got more than they expected. I think it cements Bruce Campbell as one of the ultimate character actors of all time. And it's S tier for me because it also proved, how talented Sam Raimi is and set him up for the rest of his career too. So yeah, S tier for me. And again, Jordan, I think if you watch it in succession with the entire series because you like the Stars show, I think on a rewatch it'll grow on you.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I definitely want to try to rewatch a little bit down the road, but I think even with my kind of dissenting opinion, everyone else says S,
so we've got
so far.
It may depend on Mark's vote when he gets back in because we'll get his vote on Evil Dead 2. For right now, we got 3 S's and A, and unfortunately, the C kind of drags it down. So it's in A, maybe above the Blob and below the Stepfather right now.
We're keeping a list of everything Mark hasn't chimed in on yet, right?
So far it's Shining, and Evil Dead. Pretty much it starts with The Shining, so I'll make note of that. And anything after, I've got them all listed here.
The Shining in the chat. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Well, I mean, The Shining is. I figured he would say that, but yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's overwhelming so far. We'll just get his thoughts on Evil Dead when he gets back, or he can throw it in the chat. So if he's listening. All right, but next we go to. I'm sorry. I was just gonna say we'll go to Chris next, but yeah. If you're in touch with Mark, he can throw his votes in there too, for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say like when he comes back, we may have to let him pick a couple. We'll see. Huh?
Yeah.
But Chris, what do you got?
So one of my friends is the one that introduced me to most of like the awesome 80s horror movies, and one of the ones he got me is Demons, the one from it's right up there.
Top corner almost.
Top corner.
Right below shoulder in the corner.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Blue and yellow.
There.
Yeah. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
That movie surprised the hell out of me, and it was just like the very opening sequence, which you see all these different characters, like kind of like on this old gritty train, going to somewhere. They all get invited to. I'm not trying to ruin anything, but it was just an incredible movie. The way it was filmed, and yes, this was also an independent film, but it didn't feel independent to me. Like, it was a solid movie. You felt like you were in your seat as shit just went sideways, and the practical effects were incredible. Like, seriously, this is absolutely an S-tier movie. It still stands out to me. I think it definitely should be above Hellraiser.
All right. Well, wow. Austin, what do you think?
Wow. It's a strong opinion for Demons, but I will say Demons rocks. It's a rock and roll horror movie, and I'm not big on Italian horror overall, but this one plays like just a crazy sort of almost like a zombie outbreak movie in a theater, and it just gets really bonkers with the infection kind of going around as people get bitten and turned into these little demon creatures. I love the setting of the actual movie theater, of them watching a movie kind of about what's going on and then having really happen in sort of within the movie sort of thing. It's got a phenomenal soundtrack, like a great anthem rock soundtrack. It's really, really, really fun. It's definitely a party movie. I would put it in a solid A tier. I really, really enjoy it, and I've enjoyed it every time I've gone back to it. I don't quite go S again just because of the stuff we still got on the board, but I'll go A. I really, really like Demons.
Yeah, and Demons unfortunately is one I haven't seen, but it looks like a pretty wild, crazy ride that just is like nonstop from start to finish. So I did go watch the trailer for it, so it's definitely one on my radar. But I'll abstain because I have not seen it.
It's a good one to watch while you're drinking. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, but Adam, what do you think?
I have to not devalue my own opinion on this, but I owe this one a revisit. I know it's Shudder has been thrusting it upon me, and I definitely need to revisit it. I remember a lot of the imagery from it, and I remember it just being kind of this amalgamation of the demon and zombie genres, because you have a lot of what was happening in the original Evil Dead, but you also have a lot of this imagery from giallo films and like a lot of things that were popularized by Argento, and then just the zombie premise alone is how things are played out. But I need to get back into the weeds with this one, guys. From what I recall, this one's pretty impactful, so I wouldn't be offended if it lands an A personally, but got to defer to the people who've seen it more recently.
All right, and Mark, just to let you know before we get to Bibiani chimed in, he gave Evil Dead 2 an S. So because of that, it actually bumps it up above Stepfather in the 8th. Maybe even almost at the bottom of S, because it's got 4, 1A, and a C, so it can kind of get bumped up for right now.
Yeah, and then it says Demons A.
And A for Demons, so go for Demons. All right, Bibiani, excuse me.
William?
Okay, I hate to be that guy, but I don't care for Demons. I really don't. I think Austin put it best when he said it's a party movie. And it's a party movie. You put it on, everyone's drinking. Every once in a while, you watch the screen and something crazy's happening. On that level, it's really, really cool. There's a lot of great gore effects in it. But as a movie, I think it's kind of slight to the point of being insubstantial. A bunch of people go to a movie theater, and then there's a bunch of zombies at the movie theater. And then, some weird stuff happens, but to what end?
Hey, there he is.
Hey, there he is.
Welcome back.
The opportunity for some sort of meta commentary on people in a movie theater actually getting to be in the movie is completely ignored. I think, it ends up just sort of doing very little with a lot of opportunities. And I always find myself getting really bored watching it, even though there are definitely some cool highlights. So I am going to, out of my initial thought is to give it a D. I'm going to be polite and give it a C. I'm going to be polite and give it a C. I do not care for this movie very much. I find it uninteresting.
All right. Mark, you got any quick thoughts on Demons? I know you nominated for A, but you got any quick thoughts on it?
Yes, I think I have to keep my voice down because I'm now inside the coffee shop.
Okay.
I think it does a very effective job at kind of establishing the not quite no frills nature, because it is frilly and fun, but it just kind of doesn't mess around. It's like, put these people in a theater, let the demons run amok, and down to last human standing. And the fact that even then, nobody's safe.
Right.
All right. Well, Jordan, based on the votes I've got, it kind of goes between Pumpkinhead and Scanners in the A tier, kind of in the lower A tier, based on my calculations.
All right. We had
one S, 3 A's, and a C, but borderlining on D, so that kind of drags it down a little bit. So it goes behind Pumpkinhead, maybe above Scanners.
Yeah. All
yes.
Right.
And Mark, what we're going to do is we're on me right now. We're almost back around the horn. When we get to you, we'll give you 2 picks to get caught up. Is that fair enough?
Okay, that's fine.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll give you 2 picks in a row, okay? I promise. All right, so.
No. I'm going to see if I can drag you back up for the turn order.
Okay. But we'll get you 2 picks when we get to it, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Let's do it.
All right. So.
Good to have you back, Mark.
All right.
Good to be back.
Missed you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's on me. I'm not gonna play around here. Cronenberg's The Fly. Let's get it up there in S tier.
Yep.
And I hope this one will be unanimous, but we'll see. We've had some crazy opinions tonight. This is my favorite Cronenberg movie. I am a great admirer of really good body horror, and this is one of the best of all time. The slow transformation that Goldblum goes through both physically and mentally in the movie, and I think a lot of people forget his performance and how he's kind of slowly transforming mentally as well, how erratic he becomes when he first kind of gets combined, and just it's also a love story. I mean, him and Gina Davis are great. Gina Davis is amazing in this movie too, and their relationship is just really, you get really, really invested in it. The Howard Shore score is incredible. It's very orchestral and operatic for this body horror movie. It really elevates everything, and it plays like a tragedy by the end. I won't spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it, but the end plays like a tragedy. It's really heartbreaking. I get super invested every time I watch it. I probably watch this one legit 25, 30 times. And I get invested every time I watch it. It's a lot of fun, and I think it's an S-level movie for sure.
Yeah, and so I actually watched this for the first time about 2 weeks ago in preparation for this list, and and I absolutely loved it. Like I thought that it was amazing. Like I was hooked from like beginning to end. I'm a huge Jeff Goldblum fan, and then the chemistry between him and Gina Davis was great. And like I just want to learn how to do those like handstand push-ups that he does. I mean, like he was obviously like had the power of a fly or whatever he had, but so like he had that extra oomph. But like that'd be a good way to impress some ladies right there. but yeah, like I think that it's S tier all the way. I'll just keep my comments fairly brief, and I'll give it an S. So, Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, so I love The Fly, and the reason I love it so much is I did see the original when I was very young and found it pretty fascinating, just in the basic premise alone. And then when I saw the remake, I was just blown away by how much more personal it felt, because the original is already a pretty personal story. But, it's a little campy, a little theatrical. This one feels a lot more human, despite how crazy the circumstances are. Jeff Goldblum stepping into the spotlight in this movie and really being a star is what sets it apart, I think. The sense of humor is what really gets my heart invested in this film, so that when it starts making that turn into a very dark place, it hurts more. And then just a side note, this is neither here nor there. I always wanted a pull-out bed in my couch because of Jeff Goldblum's apartment in this movie. I thought he was so cool, and I did live to reach that dream, guys. I ended up getting a pull-out bed in my couch.
Dreams do come true, right?
But S tier for me. S tier for me.
Okay. All right.
Nice.
Beast.
Definitely S tier for me, right behind The Shining, maybe the second best horror movie of the decade. It's a really good remake of a really good original movie. I like the original a lot, but this one, I think Adam just nailed it. This feels really personal. This is watching someone you love die slowly. It's amazing to me that Cronenberg managed to capture the unspeakable dread and sadness of that while still making an exciting horror movie. Like, it's still like a thrill to watch this thing. The makeup effects are unbelievably stunning, and the performances are top-notch across the board. The Fly 2 sucks. But other than that, that's the only bad thing this movie.
The last 15 minutes of The Fly 2 is batshit crazy, and I kind of love it.
I'll give you that they're gross. It's a gross movie. It's not a good one, but I can't dock the original Fly for that. So the original Fly, absolute S tier, one of my favorites.
Yeah. Well, Mark, what do you think of The Fly?
100% S tier. I mean, it is tragic, it is comic, it is ugly, it is sad. It's definitely in Cronenberg's top 5, and it needs to anybody who says this is less than S tier is a Stathosporans.
There you go.
All right, Chris.
So I absolutely love this movie. I do remember seeing this movie when I was younger, and it definitely freaked me out. This Goldblum transformation in that movie is just startling and incredible. And the relationship, as everyone's kind of alluded to, between him and Gina Davis is so powerful. You care so much about Goldblum's character towards the end. Absolutely, right behind The Shining.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's unanimous, Jordan. So it goes right next to The Shining at the top of the S tier right now, for sure. All right. And Jordan, you're up, and then after Jordan, we'll go to Mark just to get his picks. So hopefully we can get that going.
Yeah. So, we're doing some of our favorites for the S tier. I'm going to go with The Thing. So, we have another show on our channel called Blind Spots, and I got to watch this for the very first time last year and do an episode of Blind Spots. It was pretty interesting because, like, in the show, we kind of go over pros and cons of, like, what we like, what we maybe didn't like. And, like, literally, I couldn't come up with even one con for the movie. Like it's a near perfect movie for me. Like it's just great from start to finish. It has some really awesome practical effects and some creature horror that's just awesome. And Kurt Russell, like he's great. And yeah, just like seeing them just like trapped up in the Arctic with like really like nowhere to go for miles and miles, and they got this like alien thing, whatever it is, just like taking over. Like I love the transformation of the dog that you see. That's really kind of frightening. And so yeah, like I gotta go with the Thing S tier. So, but
all right, Adam,
Adam,
Thing
what do
has
you
been
think?
nominated for S tier. Your thoughts?
I made it back just in time. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
No, you're good.
it's all right.
The Thing is S tier for me. The reason I think it's grown in people's estimation over the years is because it was initially such a failure at the box office. So the other thing about revisiting, hang in there, Mark. It's going to be okay, buddy. We're talking about The Thing, so you're
Thing, yeah.
You're in a sweet spot. So yeah, it's S tier. Short version is it's S tier. You have great performances all around. I have always had a soft spot for Wilford Brimley myself, and I love him in this movie. And I love how it makes all the characters doubt each other. And even though you have this crazy stuff happening with all these gory, amazing effects, it ultimately comes down to a story of trust and distrust. And that's what makes the movie so fascinating to watch. It's infinitely rewatchable. S tier.
Yeah. William, what do you think of The Thing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, this is S tier. This is like right behind The Fly for me. I think this is one of the great shockers. Just it starts off kind of slow, and by the time it is the craziest thing you've ever seen, you don't know what happened. There's a thing people like to say about horror movies that like what you don't see is scarier than what you do, right? Like, yeah, because your imagination is going to make it so much scarier. No, John Carpenter's imagination is scarier than yours. That's what the takeaway from The Thing is. He's going to show you everything. You might not know who the Thing is all the time, but the Thing transformations and the monster effects are so unbelievably imaginative and shocking and terrifying that you just kind of have to applaud. The scene, I don't want to ruin it for everybody, but there's a scene with a defibrillator that is one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in a movie. And that whole bit is just, you have to just, how people didn't appreciate this when it came out. I was too young to really be part of that zeitgeist at the time. I was like maybe 2, I think. So I didn't know, but like how we missed it, I have no idea. This is A+ or across the board. I love it. It's an S.
Yep. Yeah, Mark, what do you think of The Thing?
S tier, no argument here. Just the mounting paranoia, the nightmarish visions that come across in that place of isolation, and yet there's always that dark humor, that moment of, I know you men have been through a lot, but I do not want to spend the rest of the winter tied to this couch.
Ouch, tied to this.
Yeah.
Couch. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, Chris? What do you think?
So I love this movie so much. I'm trying to like I feel like I'd just be repeating everything everyone said, but it seriously is a perfect movie from beginning to end. It is terrifying. I think one of the big moments for me is where they have to take like the tests, and they're all kind of looking at one another to kind of see, okay, what's going on. So absolutely right behind Fly, S tier.
Yeah, I just wonder when we're gonna. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead, George.
Your thoughts first.
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, when are we gonna go get Christian Harloff and tie him down and do the Clockwork Orange thing and like force him to watch The Thing? He keeps promising us always gonna watch it, and he's
never gonna
watch it, and he's never gonna watch it.
He's never gonna watch it.
Right.
You have to accept that as a culture.
I know.
Christian
Yeah.
Karloff is just never going to do it.
That's sad, but
Yes, it
Boston.
Yeah, I talked about on our first Horror Decades episode that we did that paranoia horror is my favorite subgenre of horror, and this, alongside the 78 Body Snatchers, is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. Just because that's what scares me more than anything is not knowing the person next to you is the person next to you, or something happening like that and you have no control over it. Yeah, I'll keep my thoughts brief. The Thing is amazing. I finally got to see it in a theater last year, which was awesome, and it still works 100%. So yeah, it's no qualms for me. S tier, baby, all the way.
Yeah, for sure.
And so yeah, we've got 3 at the top that have clean sweeps. So we'll argue about the placement later, but yeah, it goes right near the top still.
Yeah, we'll throw it over to Mark since you were gone for.
Let's
a
go
little
to
bit.
Mark and get his.
Couple.
We're gonna give him
Yes.
two picks to get caught up. So Mark, your first
Yeah.
one.
Okay, well, let's get this little bit of negativity out of the way. Because even in the 80s, they can't all be gems. I am nominating The Lost Boys for C.
All right.
I think it is too stylish by half, that it's more about making vampires look cool and edgy than trying to legitimately create a scare, although I think Corey Haim does kind of get that feeling of being young and not able to trust anybody in his family. And I will always hold a grudge against this movie for ruining one of my favorite uplifting songs by The Call. Because, as everyone knows, there is a cover version done by an oily, shirtless, sweaty saxophone player.
Yeah.
I still believe.
And he turned that song into cheese. I mean, that is the original song by The Call. That song has saved me from the brink multiple times. Michael Biehn is an underrated songwriter, may he rest in peace, and it's something meaningful to me, and that movie just treats it like a joke, and The Lost Boys thinks that vampires are a joke, so on this movie.
All right, fair enough. Chris, what do you think? The Lost
I
Boys.
actually like this movie. I wouldn't say I love it like I feel like a lot of people do, but I don't absolutely hate it either. I think it's fun. I mean, I kind of always wanted to be Val Kilmer. They kind of all feel badass to me,
Val Kilmer.
And I mean, Kiefer Sutherland, because I'm the dumbass.
Kiefer
Okay?
Sutherland. Okay.
But I always
Okay.
want to be
Yeah, the Val
Kiefer
Kilmer.
Sutherland.
Right.
Cool, okay? But
You
I
got the
will
Ron
never
Schumacher
be
movie.
Yes, but I will never be Kiefer Sutherland.
Kiefer
Cool.
Sutherland is also in that one.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. But I would have to give it a B. But it's not an A film for me.
All right, well, Watson, what do you think?
I love you, Mark, but this is an S tier for me. I fucking love The Lost Boys, and I rewatched it recently, and holy shit, did I get so into it. I had an absolute blast rewatching it and going back to revisit it. I think Kiefer Sutherland is so much fun. He's absolutely eating up the screen in the best way possible. I think the atmosphere that they set in the movie actually in the first 10 or 15 minutes is what hooks me, because you see all these missing posters. It kind of sets this tone of like there's something going on with this town. There's something wrong with it. You don't know what it is. And then when you find out it's all these vampires, like I get really into that. I know it's a little over the top sometimes. I understand that. But I love the soundtrack. The soundtrack rocks. The Cry Little Sister stuff is great. I like the blending of humor and a few scary scenes. I like the Frog Brothers acting like badasses but screaming in terror every time something actually happens. I dig everything about The Lost Boys. So to me, it's actually an S tier. This may be the most divisive one we had yet, but I fucking love The Lost Boys.
Yeah, for me, like this one, I'm kind of split between S tier and A tier. So I mean, I could go either way, maybe like a low S, high A, but we're just talking about the cast alone. Like I think the cast is like a near S tier of like really cool young 80s actors. I mean, you got Kiefer Sutherland, you got Corey Feldman, Corey Haim, Alex Winter, Diane Wiest. I mean, so
Edward Herrmann is awesome in that movie. He's
Yeah,
great.
right. And like I have so much fun with it every time that I watch it. Remember that my wife's mom showed it to me for the first time about like 5 or 6 years ago, and yeah, I had a great time, and even since I've gone back to revisit it a couple of times, and went out and even bought the movie after she showed it to us, and yeah, well, I love the whole tone that they set, and like their kind of little hideout in the cave. I think that's super cool, and yeah, like I think that it's a fun kind of twist on the vampire genre. But I'll go ahead and give it a high A, like a solid A. So that's where it lands for me. Adam, what do you think?
So I totally understand where Mark is coming from on The Lost Boys. Personally, it's a B tier movie for me, and that's said with a lot of affection too. I saw The Lost Boys at the right age. I saw it very young, at the age where it should have that complete nostalgia bubble wrap around it. And in a lot of ways, I do have a lot of fond memories of the movie. But when you stack it up to other vampire films specifically, it's a fun one-off that I give credit to Joel Schumacher for making a fun vampire movie that's incredibly 80s in the best ways. But yeah, it's a derivative fun movie for me, and it's got a lot of A-list actors in it. I think Diane Wiest is actually one of the underrated performers in this movie because she doesn't have any badass moments, but she makes me laugh throughout the entire film. And yeah, Kiefer Sutherland, bought himself a one-way ticket to playing a villain for the rest of his life in this movie. So, yeah, I like it. I revisit it. I think it's fun, but I don't think it goes above B.
Well, William, what do you think?
Yeah, I have a lot of affection for this one too. I saw it when it came out, so I was in theaters, so it's probably like 6. And I have a lot of affection for it. There's a lot of things I really, really like about it. I disagree with a lot of Mark's takes on it. I actually think, first off, it's not really trying to be a terrifying horror movie, but I do believe that its take on vampirism is pretty apropos for the 80s, at a time when we were worried once again about drugs and juvenile delinquency. And here all of a sudden there's this young kid whose brother is, they're both unattended because their single mother is working, which is another very 80s anxiety. And the older brother starts falling in with a bad crowd and starts doing drugs, drinking blood, and doing very bad things. And I think on that level, I actually think it's pretty smartly constructed. But at the same time, it is a trifle, and it's a very, very fun trifle. I have a blast with it. I'd recommend it to anybody, but I don't think it's the upper echelon of the 1980s, even though it's super entertaining. So I'm going to give it a very high B, and that's with a lot of love. That is not a critique. Anything like C or below is me saying this movie has a lot of problems. But B is entertaining, just not amazing by any particular stretch.
All right. Well, despite Mark's C tier, it goes into B. The high B is where it goes. So it's the one in B right now.
Yeah, fair enough.
By itself. All right.
Well,
you got another pick.
One more
Okay.
pick,
Okay. I will respect the council's decision, but everybody should go out and buy "Reconciled by the Call." It's a tremendous album that not enough people know. All right, so
We'll do that.
I will. So, turnabout, I will elevate an S tier level vampire film by comparison, and that is Near Dark.
Yay!
All right.
This
So where's
there
Near
is
Dark on here,
just
if anyone sees it. Here it is.
style for
yeah.
style for miles, and again, legitimate emotion and pain, and you get caught up in these characters, that there is humor, but it's never at the expense of the frights that it's trying to create, and it's got one of I think the best. I think Charles Napier performances. He's a guy who normally gets cast for kind of comic relief or for tough guy or villains, and here he's like this legitimately sympathetic character. I think this was Catherine Bigelow unassumingly trying to make a good horror film, and in the process making this transcendent Western about the consequences of living as an outsider.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll
go to Chris.
Chris, what do you think?
So I got to highlight another 80s vampire movie. So I got to say, first off, I saw the remake of this movie in theaters with Jordan, and I loved
remake.
it. It was a lot of fun.
You're thinking of Fright Night. We're talking about
Fright
Near
Night.
You thinking of Fright Night?
Fright Night, yes.
Just say it.
But we're still on Mark's.
We're talking about Near Dark. We're talking about Near Dark.
God. Okay, I've never seen. I've never seen.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm an idiot. Okay,
I've never seen Near Dark, so I'm like,
Wow.
I never saw it in
Okay,
theaters.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
Wow. All right.
Okay, we'll get to you. We'll get to you.
Yeah,
we'll get to that if you want to. Okay. All right, we'll go to me.
I'll
Go
to Austin.
Yeah, I saw this movie for the first time a few days ago. Unfortunately, because of its wonky rights and stuff, I had to watch this in a sketchy format. I'll just leave it at that. I didn't want to, but simply for availability's sake. Hopefully that'll change very soon. I've seen some rumors about Studio Canal putting it out, so I certainly hope so, and I would be happy to purchase legally. To me, I really like the style of it. I like some of the performances. I love Bill Paxton. Like, I'm a Bill Paxton diehard fan for life. So to get to see one of his performances I hadn't seen yet, as Severn, was a lot of fun. Lance Henriksen is great. There was wonky stuff about this movie that took me out of it throughout it. There's the bar scene that everybody talks about in the middle of the movie. It's really weird. They like slash a girl's throat, and yet people in the background see it and are still just halfway playing pool and just kind of ignoring it, which was just weird to me. Like, nobody's panicking, nobody's freaking out. That took me out of the movie. Some of the character decisions, the fact that the main vampires always seem to lose track of time, like 4 or 5 times in this movie. Like, the sun's creeping up and they just don't realize it. Do any of them wear a watch? I didn't understand this, and they've been doing this for years and years and years. There was just really weird things. I liked some of the performances. I like the style of it. I like the fact that it's almost like a Western, like a road movie. I enjoy it, but I can't put it above B tier for me, but that it may creep up in subsequent viewings because it was only a first-time watch for me. So I liked it, but I didn't love it.
Yeah, and for me, I haven't seen this movie for the sheer fact that I tried to watch it, and I tried to track it down. I couldn't find it anywhere, so I just kind of moved on to something else. But yeah, when it becomes available, I definitely want to give it a watch. So I'll abstain for now. But Adam, what do you think? Near Dark.
Near Dark is S tier for me. It's the vampire film from the 80s. That's my personal favorite of that subgenre. I think it's a huge emergence of Catherine Bigelow as a director. I like how it takes the idea of vampires and forces them to deal with the real world application of not just being restricted to nighttime. So, like, just the simple idea of covering up the windows in a car to survive and get a little extra mileage as a vampire during the day. That was such a big hook for me the first time I saw it, and it made me realize how vulnerable these creatures are when they play outside of their own rules. And that's what made me fascinated with these characters, because they're a ragtag group of wanderers. You know, they're nomadic. They even though they're traveling in like a station wagon, they seem almost like a motorcycle gang in a lot of ways. I just think Near Dark does so much with the idea of vampire mythology, and makes it a story about not only the way we connect as human beings, but also the way we separate ourselves off into these interesting cliques. And then when someone comes into the group, there's that distrust. And yeah, Bill Paxton, I'm obsessed with him like everybody else. And, you know, I think there was a lot of symbiosis, as people would expect, between Bigelow and Cameron back then, given their relationship. And I love the actors you see bleed between their resumes. And there's a lot of interesting energy in that sense that I see in the film. So I love it. S tier.
All right. Well,
William.
what do you think?
I very, very much admire Near Dark. For me, it's an A, but it's a rock solid A. I agree with pretty much everything everyone said, including some of the critiques. I do believe that there are certain storytelling elements that are just pure nuts and bolts, taking it literally, story elements in Near Dark that feel a little clunky to me. That, frankly, I think there's a solution to vampirism that's posed in the movie that's just too easy, I think, and it always kind of sunk the ending of it for a little. But it's so stylish, it's full with so much character. For me, the breakout character is actually Joshua John Leonard, who's a vampire and who's trapped in the body of a kid, but he's been a kid for like 100 years. And that's something that I think this movie does better than a lot of other vampire movies of the era, which is capture the age of a vampire and just how much history and how much baggage they carry and how much the days just sort of bleed together. And I think that's one of the things that makes it truly great for me. So for me, it's not quite upper echelon all-time classic, but it's really close. So it's a very, very high A.
Okay. Based on my votes, Jordan, I've got 2 S's, an A, and a B. So I think it goes between, based on my chart here, Evil Dead 2 and Stepfather right now in the A tier. So it still could make the honorable mentions at the end. It's got a very strong conservatorship there. Mm-hmm.
And that's a solid spot for it. So yeah.
What we're going to do right now, I think Jordan was going to get to it. Yeah, we're going to do one more main round where everybody's going to get a regular pick with regular time, and then after everybody gets another pick, we're going to go into our Hail Mary round. We're just going to rapid fire them out there, see if you can get some unanimous votes for things near the top. But for right now, we're going to go around one more time. If anybody needs to take a break, you can do so, please. I understand if you need to step away, but for right now, we'll go back around to Adam and give him another pick.
All right, you're up. What do you got, Adam?
I wanted to take the pressure off everybody in this round, and go with a movie that should be F, but I think is solidly B, and that's Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Hey!
All right.
I cannot argue for this to be A or S. I just cannot. But I think it is the best B movie that ever beed. Killer Clowns from Outer Space, I saw way too young, but even at the age of 6, I kind of understood the sensibility of this film. I found a lot of it grotesque and unnerving as a kid, but I still found it kind of fun. It's always linked inextricably to Pee-wee's Big Adventure for me because of the clown imagery in that film, and I saw them around the same time. But Killer Clowns, I think, is so much fun because it states how ridiculous it is in the title, to the point where clowns is spelled with a K. And it leans into its premise so hard, where a character literally goes around saying cotton candy cocoons out loud, and that character's name is Mike Tobacco. But in college, I was obsessed with showing this movie to my friends, and we developed a new nickname for him. He has this big silly sweater on the whole movie, so we started calling him Thule McSweaterman, and then I had to like remind myself his name was Mike Tobacco. But honestly, I just love the simplicity of this movie. I love how over the top the clown creature effects are, and the simplicity of going after their noses to get them is so similar to how zombies are taken out, or vampires in the heart, or zombies through the brain. I love the ridiculousness of it being their nose, but all the characters take it incredibly seriously, because at that point several people have died in the film. There's acidic pies in this movie. It is just not boring to watch, and the theme song is one of the best. It's up there with The Blob, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I'm spacing on the band who does it, but B movie. That's my argument. It's a B tier movie.
Yeah, definitely. William, what do you think?
As a critic, I have espoused a philosophy towards certain films. I call it the 4-star, 3-star movie. which is to say that this movie is as good as it could possibly be, and it could only possibly be 3 stars. So you have to give it up for Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It is as good as a movie called Killer Clowns from Outer Space could ever be. It's incredibly creative. It's incredibly inventive. The music is fun. The production design is fun. The monsters are fun. It's all basically an excuse for a variety of clown-related murder set pieces. And some of them are really genuinely freaky. Like, so much of them are really dorky. But the one where they use, I think it's at Vernon Wells that they use as a puppet.
John Vernon.
John Vernon. Sorry, I always get
Mm-hmm.
John Vernon gets used as like a ventriloquist puppet, and I saw that as a kid, and it freaked me out more than a lot of other way more serious horror movies. So I am a huge fan of this movie, but again, it's not aiming for anything high. It's aiming to be a truly epic slumber party discovery for a bunch of like junior high schoolers or freshmen in high school. Like that's the vibe here, and on that level, doesn't get any better. But it's still a B. It's still a B. But it's the number 1 B.
Okay.
Right. Well, Mark, what do you think?
Well, first off, to answer Adam's question, it's the Dickies that do the theme song.
Right, the Dickies, like the jeans, right?
Yes. And this is such. There is no shame in a B, especially in the 80s, and this is one of the biggest Bs you can have. It's just beautiful, garish, loony fun.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely. Chris, what do you think?
So I saw this movie a few years ago for the first time, and I loved it. But at the same time, clowns always scared the hell out of me ever since I saw it as a child. But yeah, this movie was a hell of a lot of fun, and it definitely freaked me out. Like there were some genuine scary parts to me, but at the same time, like it was also, as you said, like I would put it at the top of B. Like it definitely takes itself serious, but it's also Clowns from Outer Space. So I would say it should be at the top of B.
Yeah, Austin, what do you think?
Yeah, I adore Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It's so goddamn fun. It's definitely, like everybody's talking about, the King of the B movies. And to your point, William, I think Roger Ebert said something similar about the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where he said, I think this is the best possible Ninja Turtles movie you could make, called Ninja Turtles. So, I'll give it 2.5 out of 4, something similar to that. And it's a lot of fun. I would actually vote A, just because I think it's one of the best B movies ever made. So I would vote A for this King of the B movies, but yeah, I can't put it in like an S tier or anything like that. No, of course not. But I enjoy Killer Clowns, and I want to give a best shout out to Ernest Scared Stupid, which repurposed the clown costumes from the Kyoto Brothers and just gave them a different color scheme and made them the goblins in that movie. It's fantastic, and I didn't realize that for a long time, but it's so much fun to go back and watch. It's literally the clown costumes with a different color scheme. It's awesome.
Oh, nice.
And hello, my friend Shay Astar, who was in Ernest Scared Stupid.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Oh, cool.
Hey.
Very cool. Yeah, for me, so I saw Killer Clowns from Outer Space way too young. So I probably watched it when I was about maybe 10 years old, if that. For some reason though, it didn't really scare me that much. Even when, at 9 or 10 years old, I kind of understood the cheesiness of it. But I've also been a pretty hard person to scared. There's not too much in this world that really scares me. So it's just, I don't know, for whatever reason, but I had a ton of fun with it. But it's one that I haven't watched since then. But it's one that I really want to give a rewatch, so much so that I have the movie set aside because Austin, for my birthday, he sent me this huge care package with about 50 different movies. Most of them were a bunch of horror movies, so I got Killer Clowns right here, just waiting to go. So probably this week sometime, I'm gonna throw it on and give it another rewatch. But I think I remember enough about it to just echo exactly what all you guys have been saying. It's the best B movie that there could possibly be. So I would echo that. I'd give it a B. So.
All right. Well, I think, Jordan, it's the King of the B movies, so it probably goes to the top of the B, just like we've been talking about.
Yep.
So yeah.
All right. Well, William, You're up again.
All
What do you
All right,
got?
so this is the last big round, and I want to dedicate it
Yeah.
to a movie. There's a lot of other movies that are arguably S tier that I think we can probably all agree on, but I want to make one more Hail Mary toss out.
Well, we're
This
gonna
is
have our
a
Hail
movie
Mary round later and throw out try to go for
No.
those unanimous ones quickly. You can pick whatever you want.
No, this movie deserves credit, and I'm pushing it for S tier.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
want to give it to talk
Okay.
about it for those who've seen it, because I love this movie. It doesn't get talked about enough. This is a movie I saw in a hotel randomly on television, and I saw 5 minutes of it, and I'm like, this is one of the best written horror movies I've ever seen in my life. And I couldn't find out what movie it was because they didn't have a TV guide back in the day. And I didn't find out until I saw a midnight screening of it, like 20 years later, of Night of the Creeps.
Oh yeah.
Night of the Creeps is one of
Yeah.
the most entertaining,
Was it that?
one of
Yeah.
the most emotionally charged, one of the most creative horror
yeah.
movies of the 1980s. It is a great teen movie. It is a great movie about friendship. It is a great movie about cops. It is a great movie about zombies. This is a great movie about alien space leeches. It is a great movie about like going to the dance. Like, it's got everything in it. The characters are all sharply written. There's no small part in this movie. Every single character is as rich as you'd find in a Tarantino joint. The storyline is bonkers and starts out on a spaceship, then turns into a 50s like scare film, and then transforms into Revenge of the Nerds, and then transforms into Creeper. It's all kinds of inventiveness and wildness, and yet when a character finds out that there's like a leech in his brain and he's gonna die, it turns into the saddest, most genuine, heartbreaking, I cry watching it good. Serious
Okay,
horror
William.
movie. And then at the end, Tom Atkins is telling a whole bunch of sorority girls, the good news is your dates are here. The bad news is they're dead. And
They're
then they start making
Yeah, right.
flamethrowers.
And they're dead.
Awesome on every level. This movie is everything a movie can possibly be, and I want it in the S tier. Hopefully someone agrees with me.
Okay.
Yeah, Mark.
Mark.
Well, what do you think for Night of the Creeps?
Unfortunately, this is another gaping hole in my knowledge.
Ooh, we gotta watch it. You gotta watch it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Good.
well. Not only do I have to watch it, I feel kind of regretful over the fact that when I lived in Cincinnati, it was one of the few markets the movie opened theatrically in, and it actually got a second try. They reissued it under the title Homecoming Night.
Oh, weird.
And
Really?
I missed
Huh.
both solicitations of the movie, and I feel
Oh.
like a jerk over that.
It wasn't all your
That's
fault.
all right. No. We all make mistakes, so it's all right. No worries.
Chris, have you seen it?
Chris, what do you think?
I've never seen this movie before, but I did see like a preview for it, and it looked fun as hell.
Alright.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Well,
can't really play it.
Bibiani?
Boston?
I got some good news for you. I'm right there fucking with you, dude.
Yes!
Night of the Creeps fucking rocks, and it's S tier, dude. It's so fucking good. Like I'll drop F-bombs all day. This movie's fucking great. And Tom Atkins, we need a Tom Atkins movie in the
You
S
only get
tier
5 on the
for
show,
damn
right?
sure. And it's his
5
his
F-bombs.
favorite.
I don't know.
It's his personal favorite role. If you talk to him, he loves that movie. I totally agree with you. That scene with Steve Marshall, his character when he's dropping that message, is heartbreaking. It's one of those heartbreaking things ever where he's just like, it's in my brain. I can feel it. I love you, man. You know, like it's just like it all of a sudden it hits you with this gut punch. I could watch a movie, William, of just the two of those guys at college. That's how good it is. Like if it was just a college movie with those two
Every
guys,
single
it's so
movie
well written.
he's in is good.
I could watch it just an hour and a half of them, of dude being his wingman and him trying to get laid and like just doing a college movie. So well written, it's amazing. And the fact that it's like that, it's a zombie movie. It's like Slither. It's like this other movie. It's so much fun. It blends all the genres beautifully. I'm with you, dude. S tier. I fucking love Night of the Creeps.
Yeah, so this movie actually, so what kind of teased it earlier? I literally finished watching it literally like 30 minutes before we went to air on, on this episode, and I absolutely loved it. Like I thought that it was amazing. Like it was so good.
I told him to watch it beforehand. I told him to watch this movie.
Right.
I'm glad he did.
He suggested it, and I was like, "The Night of the Creeps." I never even heard of it, and went and checked out a trailer, and like the whole like humor and the college vibe, but then you have some really creepy elements. Like that made me pretty hooked in it, and like there's so much fun, and Can't remember the actor that plays the guy with the crutches. I think his name's Steve Marshall.
His name's Steve Marshall. He only did one movie. This is like his only performance, and he's great. It's a shame. He's amazing. He's fantastic.
Like he was awesome. Yeah, like he was probably my favorite character in that. But just like seeing the dynamic of like then I tried to join a sorority. To impress the girl, and then it goes like totally haywire. You see all these like slugs from outer space just kind of get into people's head. Then you have the whole 50s aspect where you have the like opening scene from the 50s and all that. Like there's just so many elements to just make the movie awesome. And also too like I want to give a shout out to all the colors too. Like the movie has a lot of cool colors and like lighting and like special effects in the movie that are just great. So yeah, I would agree with you guys. S tier for.
And Dick Miller makes a cameo, which is essential for a great 80s horror movie.
Right. But Adam, what do you think?
So yeah, I don't know if this will help or hurt Bibiani in his quest for getting this to S tier. Hopefully it helps. I personally definitely need to go back to this one because of my age. Even though it came out a bit later, maybe it was just the cover art and catching bits and pieces of both movies here and there. But I conflated this for a long time with Bob Balaban's "My Boyfriend's Back" from 1993. It's just it's not Night of the Creeps' fault.
No, I actually like that movie.
Yeah, and "My Boyfriend's Back" is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I need to rewatch this, and I need to rewatch it just start to finish. Give it a clean watch. I owe it that much. I have a feeling I'm going to really enjoy myself. The imagery sticks out in my memory, but I saw it when I was prepubescent. It's basically worthless. So I owe this one a revisit, and I can't wait.
Let me know what you think.
But here's the good news, William. We need at least 3 qualified votes to get it on the chart, and all 3 of the votes were S tier, so it goes into the bottom of S tier. So it makes it right now.
Right.
So, yes. All right, good job, William.
Right. Yep, this is gonna stay exactly where it's at.
It like number 10, but it's gonna make it. All right.
Yeah, we'll throw it back to Mark.
To Mark,
you're up again. What do you got?
Oh, has everybody gotten a third pick?
Well, we're all kind of.
Oh, you're. Yeah.
I
we're in the middle of one last big one.
Yeah. We get.
Okay, because I had 3, and then
I think this is our 4th. I think we're doing 4th.
Yeah. So we're giving you one more pick, and then
it's okay. Go ahead.
Austin and me. So
we'll all pick one, and then we'll do a Hail Mary round. So yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, simply because our S tier is still a little incomplete, and we should at least start talking about it. For S tier, I'm surprised we haven't got. I mean, there's a lot we haven't gotten to, but I got to throw in for An American Werewolf in London.
Yes, you just stole my pick. So yeah,
it's it's that sweet balance of horror and laugh out loud comedy and legitimate investment in the characters and their fate. And I think there weren't that many horror comedies up to that point, and if there were, the emphasis was way more on the comedy than the horror, and this was the one where it turned on a dime within the same scene and set a course for a lot of movies to follow.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Chris,
what do you think?
So I've seen the werewolf transformation. I even listened to a podcast of Rick Baker, but I've never seen the movie, sadly. So I really can't comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Austin?
Yeah, I'll back you up, Mark. I think it should be an S tier for a simple fact. I think it's the best werewolf movie of the 80s, and that needs representation in the S tier. I agree with you wholeheartedly. The tonal shifts in the movie, Mark, throw you off the first time you see it. that it's like you think it's going to be this like serious vampire movie, but it's got a really twisted kind of fun sense of humor. Especially even when you first start seeing his buddy as like a zombie undead, like he's not that thrown by it. He just kind of starts talking to him, and it sort of throws you off. But you kind of settle into the vibe of the movie. I think John Landis does a great job with the direction here. Obviously, Rick Baker getting an Oscar they had to make for him for this movie, well deserved. It's incredible, and again another kind of heartbreaking ending that sort of hits you in the gut once you get there. But I really enjoy American Werewolf in London, and I absolutely will back up S tier for it.
Yeah. A naked American man stole my balloons. That's my favorite line from the movie, the little kid. So that always cracks me up. But like I literally just watched this movie for the first time yesterday. So like I'm really trying to play catch up with all these 80s horror movies. But I absolutely loved it. Like I thought that it was great. Like I had so much fun. And I love all the humor. Like I love a good combination of solid humor, but then also some solid scares, and then also some great music, and you have all of that together in this movie, and yeah, like it just worked really well for me. And then I love the reveal of the creature at the end, where you get to see it fully at the end, and like the ending too. Like I'm not going to spoil anything, but I love how it ends though. Like it's a perfect ending for me. So yeah, like I would give it an S tier. So, but Adam, what do you think?
An American Werewolf in London is firmly an S tier film for me. I saw it. I was probably 10 or 11. And I know Hoik appreciates my Ohio references. Hoik, I saw this for the first time I got a VHS copy from the Westerville Public Library. So they had my back, man. They had my back. But I watched that, and I remember picking it up, thinking like the cover art looks so cheap to me with the two of them just standing there. I was like, why isn't there a werewolf on this? It's just a moon and two guys. And I thought it was going to be this cheap piece of crap. And within the first 5 minutes, I was laughing. I remember I was watching it with a buddy of mine who stayed over at my house, and we just laughed. And by the end of the movie, I had just gone through so many emotions. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen, that movie. And it made me interested in werewolves again, because what it did with like the puppetry and the effects, not just the transformation scene, but what it does with the actual creature, and how it cuts away from it and does wide shots of its immense shape and makes it such an intimidating werewolf, makes it iconic. And Griffin Dunne, it was my introduction to Griffin Dunne as an actor, and I fell in love with him with this movie. So S tier, love it, great movie.
All right, William, what do you think?
It's okay. No,
Wow.
I'm not as enormously high in this movie as a lot of other people, and I think part of it's because I wasn't around when it came out, and it wasn't like my formative werewolf movie. I was much more of a fan of The Howling growing up, and The Howling just has a different vibe, a different take on werewolves, and I think a part of it just speaks to me more than this film. However, this is a great film. There's no denying it. The makeup effects are amazing. The character work is really, really strong, and I think Mark makes the greatest case for this being. This is an A for me, but the reason it's an A, and the reason why I'm calling it an A right now, is because Mark made the valid point that I think this was a film that really helped sway the horror comedy into the horror first, comedy second realm. And I think that's really important for the 80s. And I think the success of a film like this really helped transform what horror could be in the 80s. So for historical significance alone, minimum A. It's just personal preference. I wouldn't put it in the top 10 that we have, but it's still a great film. So
Okay.
All right.
Well, despite Bibiani's slight trepidations, we got 4 S's and an A, so it stays in the S tier based on the panel. And even it's around similar to Hellraiser actually on my chart here, so I think it slightly goes above Creeps right now and below Hellraiser.
Yeah, well,
is according to my calculation. I know, but Creeps is still in the S tier. It didn't get bumped out. It didn't get bumped out. It's still there. Yeah.
We'll have a little bit of a debate at the very end of of the actual S
Individual
tier.
rankings. Yeah.
I know, it's funny.
All right. That's all right. But
Yeah.
Chris.
Throw it to Chris.
All right.
Another one you want to go for?
Oh, yes, there is. I've been waiting, and I kind of forgot. Oh yeah. So let's see. Poltergeist. I love Poltergeist. It absolutely terrified me as a kid. It is absolutely an S tier movie for sure, no doubt about it. It still stands out to me. I would have to put it above a Reanimator, definitely towards the top of this S tier.
Yeah.
Because everything about it is terrifying. The acting is amazing. The music is incredible. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It's just a
Sounds
solid
good.
S tier.
Well, Austin, what do you think?
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't see Poltergeist till I was like 25 years old or something. It took me a long time to get around to it. Yet, despite that, the scene where the tree is eating the kid viscerally terrified me and cut to my soul. Like I have to give a shout out to that scene because I hate seeing kids in that kind of peril where they can't defend themselves, and that scene horrified me. And can we please give Toby Hooper the credit he deserves for directing this movie, and he directs the hell out of it, and stop all the nonsense about he didn't direct this movie. He fucking directed this movie. Give him his credit. Poltergeist is awesome. Again, it terrified me even in my mid-20s, and I love Poltergeist to death. I would back up an S tier for this. Maybe not as high as some of the other movies in that S tier, but I would still vote for it in S tier.
Yeah, for me, Poltergeist is one of the first horror movies I ever saw as a kid because since I grew up in a little more of a conservative home, it was only rated PG-13, so my parents, for whatever reason, they're like, yeah, you can watch Poltergeist. So,
it's PG, not even PG-13.
Oh, you're right, it's PG because
it does not feel like a PG movie.
A guy rips off his own
movie.
face in that movie.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's really messed up.
Right.
It's 80s PG. 80s PG.
Yeah.
80s, so that's a little different than today's standards. But yeah, like I absolutely love this. Like I love Craig T. Nelson. Like I think he does an incredible job, and then just the way that they do like the voice effects when the little girl gets sucked into like the other dimension or whatever it is, and then also the music's great too. Like it has a great soundtrack, and like it was like one of those movies that when I first saw it, like I just sat there through the end credits, and I just like just really sat and like let it all sink in, and just really enjoyed the soundtrack, and like just like we use a lot of like typical horror movie tropes, like their house is built on an Indian burial ground and all that stuff, but it works for me. Like it works really, really well. So for me, like I would rank this high. Like I think like exactly where it is. Like it's almost above The Thing for me, but The Thing's like a near perfect movie. So like I could kind of flip flop there, but yeah, I'll leave it right where it is. But Adam, what do you think?
I love Poltergeist. I saw that very young as well. Connected to it immediately. And I think it's the kind of movie that you grow up with. Now I connect with Craig T. Nelson and Joe Beth Williams in that movie. Whereas when I was young, I connected to the kids. I know it's not technically what we're discussing, but I really enjoy Poltergeist 2. And even though Poltergeist 3 was a very troubled and tragic production, I still find it to be an interesting movie. I find the franchise to be pretty fascinating as a whole. But the original movie, between the music, the imagery, the performances, and the fact that there's a little bit of that, I agree Toby Hooper directed it, but there's a little bit of that Spielberg magic in this movie. I really love it. It's S tier for me personally.
Yeah, William, what do you think?
Oh, it's S tier. This is another one that's not just a great horror movie. I also think it's one of the great movies about the 80s. This is, again, the nuclear family, suburbia, these wonderful isolated communities where you're safe from everything. You're away from all the urban sprawl and all of the evils of the world. The evil's right there, actually, and it's been there for a while. The one thing I will say, it was said earlier, and it's actually a bit of a Mandela effect. This movie isn't about an Indian burial ground. It's not. It's about a cemetery, a regular old cemetery that just didn't get moved along with the headstones.
Okay.
But I think it's worth noting that the movie is so powerful that it feels like it's a statement about American colonialism, and it still kind of is. It's just about like what happens when we think that we have divorced ourselves from our history and even from state of religion. The 80s was an increasingly secular time, but what if there are ghosts? What does that do to you? The only thing that keeps this movie from like absolute like up there with The Shining good is the one thing I can't forgive about it, which is we just literally went through a portal to the other world to rescue our daughter from horrible evil spirits that wanted to destroy her. Let's just spend one more night here. That's the one thing in the movie that keeps it from being like absolute. It's
a horrible night for them. Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's an S tier. It's a brilliant horror movie.
Well, Mark, what do you think?
Well, I feel like I have to abstain because I've seen this in bits and pieces over the years, but I don't think I have ever sat through the movie top to bottom, and therefore, obviously, all of the scenes I remember really being affected by, but I don't feel like I can give a qualified ranking based off of my piecemeal memories.
Okay. Well, Jordan has still got 5 S tier votes, so it kind of hangs around right where it's at right now. Kind of right around there.
Yeah, I think it's kind of sad too. They did a remake of Poltergeist and like it's just like so bad. Like the effects are like not even close to what they did way back in the 80s. The effects are just like trash. So it's
That's
like
a real underwhelming film, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out.
The sequels are worth seeing.
I'm a Poltergeist 3 defender, Adam. I defend the third one.
Yeah, the
I
sequels
like it a
are
lot,
great.
actually.
Yeah.
And the second one will make you look at tequila differently for the rest of your life.
Wasn't hey William?
Yeah.
Wasn't the second one where they actually were talking to? They had the little old lady come in there and tell them, "Hey, you've moved into an Indian burial ground." Or am I even wrong there too? Sorry.
I actually don't remember 2 very well. I think Adam's seen it more recently than I have. Adam, is there an Indian burial ground in the second one?
Not particularly. It's all about the Reverend Cain, who becomes the villain of the series.
All right.
He's creepy as hell, by the way.
He's so goddamn.
Absolutely an amazing villain. Okay, thank you.
There are actually fewer movies with that trope than most people realize.
The Shining The Shining actually is one of the ones that comes out and says it.
Yeah. And I think Pet Cemetery kind of gets a mention as well because of cemeteries. But there's not a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Austin, you're up next. You want
to pick one? I'm hoping that Jordan, when it's his turn, will nominate a movie that he saw recently that I know he loves. So I'm gonna let him nominate that one. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I don't know what he's gonna do, but I'll nominate something else for now. I'll go Dream Warriors for S tier, man. Nightmare 3.
Let's see.
In the bottom row.
Where's that poster at? Right here. Okay.
Bottom row, right in the middle. So I'll fight for it. We'll see what happens. But
all right.
I think this one takes everything the first one did, and I'm not knocking the first one at all. The first one's incredible, but it's kind of an amalgamation of what the entire series is because it has Scary Freddy along with kind of quippy Freddy as well, but it's still scary in parts. It's still fun. I love the aspect of the kids fighting back with their own powers. I think it's great. Again, this is Chuck Russell's my boy, so I love The Blob, and he directed this one too, and it's really well written and well directed. It's very flashy, but in the best way possible. I think they do some really creative stuff, again, with all the dream powers, with a lot of the imagery. The tendon scene, the marionette thing, is one of the most horrifying concepts I've ever heard of in any horror movie. I'm going to fight for it and see what happens. I may get outvoted, but I love me some Dream Warriors, man, and I'm going to fight for it even above the original.
All right. Well, yeah. For me, I think I would agree with the S tier. I'd probably put it more of a low S tier, just compared to some of the other movies that we have on the list. But I think that it definitely belongs. I always love movies that take people that previously don't have powers and suddenly they get these superpowers. If you watch, we did an episode of one of our new shows called Tournament Fights, and literally half my list was all comic book movies. I'm a massive comic book fan, and I love when they combine it with other elements, comedy and horror and stuff like that. like that. So I like kind of consider them then superheroes in that sense, in the dream. And so yeah, like I had a lot of fun with it. There's some pretty crazy kills too that are like almost kind of fun for a movie like that. So yeah, like I would say probably low S for me. But Adam, what do you think?
So the thing about Dream Warriors, like I said early, that was one of the first horror films I ever saw. I saw Dream Warriors at a very young age. I saw Jaws and Jaws 3 specifically. I skipped over Jaws 2 at a young age. Here's the thing. Dream Warriors, that was like what solidified Nightmare as a franchise. And I know that's kind of like a theme of the 80s with the sequels. But like A Nightmare on Elm Street came out. And for me, the first A Nightmare on Elm Street, we'll talk about maybe if we have time. But that one for me is S tier. Won't say anything more now. But Dream Warriors is high B, maybe A for me. And the reason that is because it's what made Nightmare a certifiable brand. And I'm so thankful for that because I love the sequels. Like to varying degrees, of course, but I'm so thankful for all the Nightmare movies because I have fun with all of them. Nightmare 3 is one of the best ones. The effects are great, but the thing about the Dream Warriors coming together and having this almost, like super team of people fighting back against Freddy is it takes some of the suspense out of it for me. It makes it a very fun movie, and the imagery is amazing. It's a really great, fun Nightmare movie. But it's maybe my third or fourth favorite Nightmare movie overall. So for me, it's firmly B. I wouldn't be mad at A, but I can't say S.
All right.
Well, Adam, one of the things that we've been talking about doing actually is that the whole entire tier ranker or maybe tournament of just horror sequels. So like that's kind of on our radar.
That'd be fun.
So, like that would be something fun to do. Yeah. So like include a bunch of those campy ones and some of the good ones. So, but we'll throw it to William.
I can be a bit of a contrarian with the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. I think the first one's brilliant. I think New Nightmare is brilliant. I think Nightmare on Elm Street 2 is brilliant. I think the rest of them are extremely flawed, except maybe Freddy vs. Jason, which is its own separate weird beast. This is a low B. I think it is a series of incredibly wonderful kills, like really inventive kills. And then I think you're right that it solidified the series as a franchise, and I think it set it down a really bad path. I think the whole bastard son of 1,000 maniacs thing mythologized Freddy to the point where he started becoming less of a actual scary villain and more of a cartoon. I think the actual movement towards humor set it down a wrong path as well. But even ignoring that overarching, sort of influence that it had, this one doesn't work for me. And I remember seeing it in 5th grade and thinking it didn't work for me because you have the whole premise of, all these kids are going to have Dream Warrior powers. Cool. We will save that for the final act. And then the people with the coolest powers will die first and stupidly. Like there's a guy who's a wizard. Literally a wizard. He can do anything in the dream realm. He's Freddy's equal, and Freddy kills him because Freddy says he doesn't believe in magic. That completely contradicts the premise of the movie. The premise of the movie is it's my dream, and whatever I believe is real. Freddy says, nope. And I'm like, I'm out. You just ruined the movie. Nothing makes any sense anymore. An acrobat is a more effective, a more effective challenge for Freddy than Merlin. Like none of it makes sense to me. It all feels like it's trying to hip this thing up in a way that comes across extremely awkward. I love seeing Heather Langenkamp again. I think she's great. The individual kills in a vacuum, totally awesome. Really fun movie to watch, but for me, it doesn't work as a film, really, and I think it sets the franchise off on the wrong path. So it's a very low B.
All right. Well, those are some good points. Mark, what do you think?
Well, as Bibb said, in the dream realm, even in the dream realm, you can't really say, I reject your reality and replace it with my own. I give it a B as well. It's entertaining. I've had a lot of fun with the whole series, but it does kind of contradict its own rules in order to try and stack the odds. And yeah, the pivot to comedy is entertaining, but it undermines the real dread of the first film. So it's a good friend, but I can't give it higher than a B.
All right. Well, Chris, what do you think?
So we gotta obviously wait to talk about it, but I'm talking about the series as a whole. Like the first one sort of like terrified me, and then they were solid, and then this one was just I didn't like it at all. It made kind of Freddy just kind of cheesy. Freddy wasn't really terrifying anymore. It was dumb.
Right.
So I would give it a C.
Okay.
It's very generous for that. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, we got a couple S's. We got
two S's, three
B's.
B's, and a C. So actually, according to my calculations, it goes above Killer Clowns at the top of B. It's going to knock off Killer Clowns as the king of the B movies.
Yeah.
I can live with that.
All right.
I tried.
Right there.
I fucking love Dream Warriors, but I tried.
Yeah. I was with you a little bit, but yeah. So probably Austin, the one you're thinking of that I'm going to nominate, I'm going to save for my Hail Mary pick because like I have a pretty good thought that's pretty good, probably going to land in the S tier, but I'm going to go with one that I'm not really sure what the rest of everyone's going to think, but I really I loved it. I watched it for the first time probably about a week and a half ago, but I got to go with the Return of the Living Dead. So
That's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I had a great time with it, like especially with all the practical effects. Like I thought that the effects were just done super, super well, especially for the time. And like for me, like if I just kind of put myself in that kind of 80s mindset, they actually hold up pretty well. Like I'd give it a solid S tier. Like it was a fun story, and then even had a hot girl running around naked half the movie. I mean, so and like just for just like all the different like elements that like make it a like really great zombie movie. Like it doesn't really get too deep for me because like I kind of tend to get a little bored sometimes if a movie gets too deep, but like this one's kind of a little more surface level. So I had a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm gonna nominate The Return of the Living Dead for S tier, and we'll see what you guys think. But Adam, what do you think?
I kind of land with this one the way I landed on Dream Warriors. It's a high B, maybe low A on a good day for me. Return of the Living Dead is a really fun deconstruction of zombie movies before that was a thing. It plays with the audience, it engages the audience, it engages horror fans, specifically fans of Romero, a fan base he had already built up at that point with a few films. And the characters talk out loud about it, the Night of the Living Dead, and they follow the premise of a movie to survive. It's great parody that is right on the cusp of being like complete parody. So it's not like quite a Mel Brooks movie, which I appreciate. It's still like, life or death enough that there's a level of suspense to it. But it's goofy and it's fun and it's a great, answer to what zombie movies were at that point. And in that way, it's ahead of its time. I can't put it in S tier just because I don't think it's like, transcendent, but it's a lot of fun and it's very rewatchable.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think?
Yeah, I like this movie a lot. I think it's fun, and I think Adam described it well as one of the early successful meta horror movies before that became a thing, like when New Nightmare and Scream came out. And I think it's very fun. I think it mostly works on its own as a zombie movie, but it never entirely does. Like it does really depend on the pre-existing knowledge of George Romero's movies, and I think that ultimately keeps it down a little bit. But I appreciate the fun characters. I appreciate the absolute bleak nihilism of the end of the movie. I also got to give mad props to this movie because this is the movie that gave us the idea that zombies eat brains. They didn't used to do that.
Oh.
They just ate people.
Yeah, right.
Well, initially there was the whole voodoo thing, but then like Romero came around and they just ate people. this was the one that gave us brains and doesn't get enough credit for that. So I'm going to give it credit for that. I'm going to give it a low A. It's a low A for me.
Okay.
It's very, very entertaining, but I don't think it stands on its own 2 feet enough to quite belong in the S field.
Okay. All right, Mark.
Well, Mark, what do you think?
I give it a full A. I'm in pretty much in accordance with what Bibbs and Adams said. Hilarious, effective gore, great cynicism, and well, come on, Clu Gallagher.
Right.
No movie with Clu Gallagher is ever completely without, beyond hell. No movie is not improved by adding Clu Gallagher.
That's the best way to put it, Mark.
Right.
Exactly. But Chris, what do you think?
Chris?
It's a fun movie. It has great moments, but I would say it's not for me. It's not S tier. I would say it's. I would put it probably behind Scanners and A.
Okay. All right.
But not S.
Sounds good. Well, Austin, what do you think?
Well, Jordan, that's the one I was hoping you were going to nominate because I'm S tier on Return of the Living Dead. I fucking love Return of the Living Dead. I saw it a few years ago in a theater with a packed house. It played beautifully. Crowd just hooping and hollering and just having a blast. I love how kind of meta it is where they're talking about Night of the Living Dead at the beginning, and the fact that to me, I think it gets super suspenseful in the fact that they pickaxe the cadaver in the head like you're supposed to do, and then it doesn't die, and they're like, "What the fuck do we do now? Like we've decapitated ones, we've destroyed the brain. Like what do we do? Like it's one of those situations where it's like I don't know how they're gonna get out of this. Yeah, and they kind of don't. So it's I enjoy the movie. Yeah, it plays like a total like this is almost if you wanted to show like an Alien, what 80s horror was kind of all about as an amalgamation, you could like show them this movie and be like, this is kind of what 80s horror, like a little bit of everything, like the practical effects, the makeup, the creatures, the soundtrack, you got nudity, naked girls running around. Like it's kind of a little bit of everything, like in a blender. But that's kind of why I love it so much. So I actually vote S. I really love Return of the Living Dead. Well, we got two S's and 4 A's, which is exactly the same as The Stepfather. So it kind of goes near The Stepfather in the A tier.
Yeah, I'll just put it there.
So it might be in contention for an honorable mention. So we will see.
All right, so now we're in the Hail Mary round. So basically, in this round, you just want to nominate something for the S tier that you think might belong there. We'll just kind of go around the horn. We'll just keep our comments super brief, and we'll just.
But you're shooting for the moon on this one. If you think there's something in the list we haven't hit yet that you think belongs up there in that top 10, go for it.
All right.
So we'll go around and start with Adam.
Yep.
All right. So I have to go on something I think is S tier. Right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're like at least shooting for something high or high A. Just at least
or honorable mention. You can go for honorable mention, I guess.
Yeah, or honorable mention. Just shoot for something high. That's all we're asking. Shoot for something high that you think could possibly make it.
Because I'm torn between talking about what I think is S tier and what I think should be just talked about because not enough people talk about it.
Okay.
But if I'm gonna go S tier and can sneak in an honorable mention, we'll see if we can do it that way. So S tier for me is I know we already have Cronenberg, but for me it's Videodrome.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. I understand if people won't let us double dip on Cronenberg and you bump this down to A, but for me, Videodrome is brilliant. It's a movie that, especially when you watch it now in the age of internet and YouTube culture, it's even more impactful because it took place in a very analog era. The fact that it's set in Toronto for an American audience gives it just an extra level of disassociation, I think, because it's familiar, but there's just a few things about it being a Canadian film that distinguish it. James Woods gives it a great performance. A lot of great classic Cronenberg imagery in this. But what I think is the big hook of the movie that makes it pretty timeless is that fascination with finding something that's morally reprehensible that for the sake of boosting your ratings, and it's a topic that is revisited constantly to this day. And Videodrome is a movie that should never be remade. I've talked about a lot of movies that I think are infinitely remakeable, but I think Videodrome stands alone in its era. I think it's a special movie. I hope most people will agree it's firmly A, but for me it's S. So that's my Hail Mary.
All right.
William, what do you think?
Lightning comment. I don't want to take a lot of time on this. For me, it's a very high A. I find it a little obtuse, but obviously that's what Cronenberg is going for. It's an ambitious film. It's a powerful film, and I will have no objection whatsoever. It ends up in the S tier anyway. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mark, what do you think?
I'm more of a high A, but I won't object if it makes it to S.
All right. Well, Chris?
I've never seen it, so can't really comment.
Well, all right. Well, then, Austin?
Yeah, I've seen this one twice, once within the last year, so it's fairly fresh. I think, to me, Adam, it's going to take me a few more viewings to get it up that high in my estimation. I do like it, but it's got to be one of those that it's growing on me, but it's not quite there for me yet. You know what I mean? It's just it's going to take a few more times for me to really fully appreciate it, because I do enjoy a lot of aspects of it. I think it's aging very well. I will say that again with the content in the movie. But for me, it's like a high B as of right now. But if I were to revisit it probably in another year or two, it might creep up for me.
Sure.
But high B for me.
Fair.
What's that one?
Mocha.
Chocolate, please.
Okay.
Yeah, for me,
Chocolate.
I agree, Mark. I agree.
Yeah, we love chocolate too.
Yeah, right. But yeah, like for me, I would give it a high A. Like I would kind of echo what everyone else was saying. I think that it's the better of the two Cronenberg movies on the list. Like I have never actually seen Scanners, but I've seen bits and pieces. From what I've seen, I just feel like I like Videodrome a little better. I've only seen it one time, but like it was fun and like it. Well, I love just the whole, just like hypnotized by the TV, that kind of aspect, and the slow descent into madness by the main character. And yeah, I'll give it a high A.
All right. It literally has almost identical votes to the Blob, so it kind of goes right next to the Blob in the A tier.
Yeah, that sounds fair enough.
One S, a couple of A's, and a B. So yeah, right there. All right.
Quick question. Yeah, quick question.
Yeah.
Are we only doing one Hail Mary round, or are we doing two?
I tell you what, we're gonna do the Hail Marys, but if you want to fire like one or two quick rapid fire ones to just see if you get a quick consensus, I'm okay with that.
I want to do, because there's two big ones that I feel like let's bring them up, and then that way we'll bring some
that's fine.
later.
Yeah, we can bring them up quickly and get quick votes. Yeah, definitely.
I'm gonna bring them up super duper fast. I think these are known films and they don't need a lot of conversation necessarily, unless someone has a different take on it. Real fast. The first Nightmare on Elm Street. It's weird for me that we went straight to Dream Warrior. I think the original is pure. Yes. I think the original is imaginative, terrifying. I think the original has a lot more fascinating things to say about generational trauma and how it really feeds the sins of the parents are then visited upon by the children. And I think it created a new boogeyman that had nothing like the sim I'd ever seen before. And I think it's S tier, and I think it deserves to be upper echelon S tier. And then secondly, I want to give a big shout out to Fright Night.
Thank you.
This is a movie that every time I revisit it, I appreciate it more. On one hand, it's a great Hitchcockian story about a kid who thinks his next door neighbor is a murderer, in this case, a vampire. But it also has something that we really haven't discussed a lot on this list, and that is some seriously queer vibes. All right, horror is very fundamentally queer in a lot of its origins, and we really haven't talked a lot about that. And the relationship between Charlie Brewster and Chris Sarandon's vampire is so voyeuristic, and is so there's an element of like desire here to be what Chris Sarandon is without like losing yourself to his sort of evil and this very conservative anxiety over queerness sort of way that I really think is really incredible. And I think that really elevates the film from a super clever vampire movie to an actually really poignant vampire movie that really is excellent for its moment in time. So I'm just going to do those two.
Okay. And I think Mark's having to move outside, so we might lose him in a second. They were closing down.
Yeah, we just want to Just go
Close
around
down
and
a
get a-
coffee shop.
We'll come back to him. Or Mark, can you still
Yeah.
hear us?
He has fought the good
No,
fight tonight.
If you want to give a quick rating to each of these two movies that he nominated, you can do that just real quick.
We'll get back to Mark.
All right.
We'll get back to Mark. Okay. Chris?
Well, Chris? Yeah.
So
wanna
I
rate real quick?
absolutely.
Okay. Nightmare S, Fright Night A.
Okay.
All right.
Fair. All right.
Fair. All right, Chris?
So A Nightmare on Elm Street scared the hell out of me. Still scares me today, legitimately. It's absolutely upper S tier. I would have to put it above Reanimator for sure.
All
And
right.
Fright Night?
And Fright Night,
Fright Night?
absolutely. Fright Night's such a great movie. It also belongs in S tier.
All right. Well, Lawson?
Nightmare
What do you
1
think?
gets an A. I really like it, but I can only give it an A because Dream Warriors is just S in my heart, so I just can't rank it above my personal favorite, which I know is baffling to some people, but I enjoy it more. I watch it more.
That's what it is.
So, and Fright Night didn't play as well when I rewatched it this time. Lost Boys is my favorite. Fright Night's my second favorite. I really like it. It's an A. I just can't go S on it, just to be quick.
All right. Well, for me, I would give the original Nightmare on Elm Street a solid A, but probably a low A. Like, just put it lower on the list, and then Fright Night. I'm just kind of lukewarm on it. Like, I would give it probably like a B. I'm actually one of those weird ones that actually likes the remake better, just because I had a really fun movie going experience where I saw it in 3D, and the 3D actually worked really well. Some of the most well done 3D that I've ever seen. Yeah, maybe we saw it together, Chris. We
did.
Yeah. I'm kind of a
earlier.
weirdo too. I kind of prefer the remake a little more than the original too. I might be a weirdo like that, but I kind of do.
I couldn't disagree more, but I know it's not my turn.
Yeah.
Well, the
No, it's
weirdos
okay.
got to stick together, right? So,
Yeah.
Adam, what do you think of these two?
Nightmare on Elm Street, as I spoiled earlier, is S tier for me. Love it.
Okay.
Slightly obsessed. I think it's one of the more original horror films to come out ever. And I love it. And Fright Night is a firm A for me. I agree with everything Bibb said. And wouldn't be mad if it was an S, but it's firm A for me.
Well, I feel like.
Well, I've got the scores. So Nightmare's got 4 S's and 2 A's, so it stays in between.
Yeah.
It goes in between Hellraiser and American Werewolf right now, as far as my calculations. So it stays in the S tier.
We'll leave it there for now.
And Fright Night has 2 S's, 3 A's, and a B, so it kind of goes right below Near Dark or The Stepfather is kind of where it goes right now.
You throw it there.
All right.
Yeah.
So it's still a
Sounds
contender
good.
for honorable mention. Okay.
Fair enough.
All right. Oh,
All right.
whoops! I got to
Chris?
re-add Mark.
It's all good.
When he's back.
Is he back? Oh, in the car.
Yeah.
He keeps relocating.
That works,
Where in the world is Mark Edward Hoyk?
Yeah, right. So, do you want to do a quick Hail Mary, Mark?
Can you hear us?
I don't know if you can hear us.
I mean, we can't hear you.
We can go to Chris
Can't
if
hear him.
we can't.
Yeah, I
We
can
can't
do
hear
it.
him. So
We can't hear you. We can't
No.
hear you.
Absolutely. So
Can't
I'm gonna
hear
go with
put it in the private chat.
Yeah.
Gremlins. Gremlins is absolutely a perfect movie from beginning to end. It's scary.
Why won't you die?
Fun. It's
Okay.
fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Should be an S tier.
All right,
Absolutely.
Gremlins. Where we got the Gremlins thing? I don't know why I'm not seeing it. Oh, here it is. Okay.
Right.
It's the
You say
box.
S tier.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're on the horn.
Okay.
So, Austin, what do you think of Gremlins?
I like Gremlins a lot. I'm a Gremlins 2 guy. I think Gremlins 2 is even better, just because I think
really?
it leans into more of the fun stuff. So yeah, just because I'm a Gremlins 2 guy more than a Gremlins guy, I'll give it an A.
I'd give Gremlins an S. Like I don't know. Like it's probably mid to low S. Maybe I don't know. Like maybe even low because we have such good, like great movies in the S tier that like I don't even know if I could put it above any of those. Now that I look at it, like I wanted to give it a mid S, but probably a lower S, but it's still S. So
Okay.
But Adam, what do you think?
I think Gremlins is great. But if we're talking about like horror movies in general, I don't rank Gremlins amongst horror films as an S tier horror film. I think it's a great, spooky, family-friendly creature feature. Granted, it's a PG-13 family movie.
Yeah.
It gets gory, but it's also all in good fun. And it's not a movie that personally keeps me in suspense. So I think it's an A-level movie from Joe Dante, but I personally like The Howling more as a horror movie from Joe Dante. So that's me.
All right. Well,
William?
William, what do you think? Gremlins?
I'm gonna say S tier. I think it's low S tier. But to Adam's point, I think he brings up an interesting point. But for me, the mark of a horror movie isn't that it keeps me in suspense; is that it really engages with our anxieties. And I think there's a lot that Gremlins really plays with in terms of how basically just giving your kid a pet and your kid can't handle the responsibility destroys an entire community and functionally all of civilization as we know it. There's a part of that I really love, and I think is really playfully subversive. It's an impish horror movie, but I do think it's a horror movie, and I think it's a good one. And yeah, it's for me, if it ended up like right where it is, like 10th on the list, I'd be very happy.
Yeah. All right. That sounds good.
And can Mark speak? Mark, can you
we're
hear
gonna
us?
see
You want S tier?
what your thoughts are on Gremlins.
He might be still having trouble. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think he's still having trouble. So we'll try to get back to him.
Can you signal to us? Can you put like an S with your hand?
Yes,
It's an S tier. It's okay.
Gremlins. I won't object if it makes it into the S's. I would almost do it, but again, you can only. Are you seeing me waving?
Yes.
Yes. We can hear you. We can hear you.
Can you hear my voice?
We can hear you.
Yeah, we're listening.
Yeah.
Yes, we're listening. Yeah, we can hear
Okay,
you.
Gremlins. A.
All right. Hey.
Okay.
All right. Fair enough.
All right.
But
All right. According to my charts, we got 3 low S's, 3 A's. But Evil Dead had 4 S's and 1 A, so it goes right below Evil Dead.
Oh, finally.
Almost in the S tier. Almost.
Okay.
Right.
Behind this tier.
Gremlins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why must
He's
there
killing
be
it now.
only 10 in the S? But
I know.
yeah,
Right.
I would love to see it make it there because Dante is a good guy, but
Yeah.
He's going in and out. All right. We're working with him. We're trying.
Yeah.
right.
But
yeah, I was trying
Shouldn't it go
He's
base?
trying to say
On-
A, but it in a perfect world it would be S because Joe Dante is just the best.
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
right.
Fair enough.
Well, we can.
Did Mark get his Hail Mary?
Yeah. No, we're gonna let him have a Hail Mary.
No, that's what I'm saying. We're gonna let him have that, and then we'll get to me
Hail
and
Mary,
Jordan. Yeah, real quick. Yeah. Hail Mary, Mark. You got one last one?
Oh,
If we can't hear you, you might need to throw it in the chat.
You
or
might need to throw it in
something.
the
Okay,
chat.
if you throw it in the chat, Mark.
Throw it in
Yeah.
the chat, Mark. We'll get you.
okay. I won't. I'm not going to pretend this is an S, but it's a high A, and
We're almost
okay.
so close.
I'll tell you what. I'll type it in the YouTube. Hold up.
Please do.
Okay.
Okay, type it in the YouTube chat, and we'll get to it.
it. Yeah.
Technology.
Yes, right.
It's the best.
You gotta
But-
love it. That's why in studio is better, or like in person, you know.
Yeah, right. But we're all in different time zones, so it's hard to
Good
do.
pick, Mark. Good pick.
I didn't see what it was.
Mark has picked the Changeling during George C. Scott.
Changeling. Okay.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I will
Changeling.
just
Okay.
say right now,
Hoping
if
that
you
went through.
haven't- It went through, Mark.
Changeling. Okay. For
It's
A.
one
He
of the
voted for
scariest
high
haunted
A.
house movies ever made.
Okay. We'll go to Adam
All
real
right.
quick. Get your thoughts on Changeling.
Yeah.
Oh, me?
We'll
Yeah,
just
okay.
go ahead
Here,
and get
Mark.
it kind of in that order.
Up to you.
You go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah,
But he nominates for high A.
100%. I 100% agree. The Changeling is in A because I saw Mark said Hail Mary for the A category. I
A.
assume in his heart
Not S.
it might be S,
Mhm.
but But I agree, it's 100% A. George C. Scott. This and The Exorcist 3 are just such great. Like, I know we're not talking about that movie, but there's just such great genre films for George C. Scott, and The Changeling is a great twist on haunted house movies. So, yeah, I say it's a really, really rewarding film to watch.
All right.
Yeah, I think this is one of the great classical, like just old-fashioned. There's a ghost in the house. Why is there a ghost in the house? Oh God, the ghost in the house is incredibly scary. Horror movies, and although maybe it's not as like inventive or revolutionary as some of the films on the S list, I think it's well enough made. I'll give it an S. It's like low on there, but again, we're looking for a 10 spot, and I would be very happy if Changeling got that slot because that's a great movie, top to bottom. Maybe there are other films that are more life changing, but find a flaw in Changeling. I dare you.
Well, Chris, what do you think?
I have never seen Changeling, but I do want to say, Adam. Since you brought up Exorcist 3, my dad played in several movies. He was actually one of the cops in the scene in the very opening where they find the girl murdered at the lake. And he's his scene stayed in there. He's an extra. He didn't really have a speaking part, really, but I think he might have a couple lines. But yeah, pretty damn cool. Yep.
Very cool.
Nice. Yeah. Well, Austin, then what do you think of the Changeling?
I'm going to be the damper that's going to put this one out of it. I watched Changeling. I didn't find it very engaging. I wasn't really into it. I just have to be honest. There was a lot of George C. Scott sitting at a piano and moving furniture around, and I found the opening good, where you know that was engaging, where his family gets killed by the car. Unfortunately, it's very shocking. But I'm not big on like haunted house paranormal movies. It's just not my favorite. And it was very, very slow, and it was a little too slow for me. So maybe I'll go back to it and get it. But fortunately for me, it's like a C. I just have to be honest.
Ah, my soul.
Well,
sorry, William. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm going to try to get you back with my next pick. I'm going to try. But yeah.
Well, Austin, you're not alone. Like, I also don't like the Changeling. Like I just like it's just too slow for me. Just like it just bored me. Like, I think that like the first time that I watched it, I actually fell asleep watching it, and also like just a quick little story. I know we're in the Hell and merry-go-round, but one of my friends, she's obsessed with the Changeling. Like, for whatever reason, she thinks it's one of the scariest movies she's ever seen. But like we tried watching with her, and like we were like honestly just kind of we're not even really bored. We're like kind of laughing. Like, we just thought that it was like so cheesy. We see the like wheelchair fall down the stairs, and there's a bunch of weird fire stuff that really doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm just kind of like I don't even know. Like, I would even put it like that. Like, honestly, like probably at an F. Like, I don't want to be like the toward the center, but like this is probably the movie I dislike the least on this whole list.
This is
that's
rough.
just me. Yeah, sorry guys, but it.
Well, unfortunately, that pulls it way down even below the B, kind of to the bottom of the B tier, really, unfortunately, because of the scoring.
That's a shame.
Yeah, I'm sorry to do that.
Goodbye, Change.
Yeah, Jordan, that's kind of where it goes.
Sorry, guys. You can get me back with my pick next time if you want.
We have to be honest. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
All right, Chris. Real quick, you got one last Hail Mary. Did you already get one, or
no? I did not.
Right
I did not.
I thought you had Gremlins.
No, Gremlins was my last pick before we had the Hail Mary round.
Okay.
I thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's fine. Go ahead. Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
Just make it quick.
Okay.
Make it quick.
So I'm gonna go with Day of the Dead.
Okay.
Yeah, right there. I love that movie so much. So this is what I loved as far as the zombie movies. Like this movie takes itself seriously. The writing is incredible. You know, the intensity between the kind of the dictatorial like military leader who's kind of come in there, and he's like, come on guys, we need something. We need some kind of records. You know, that movie is just incredible, and it's intense. It has these scary moments. It has funny moments too. It's got everything. I definitely believe it's an S tier, and I think that it's a pretty high S tier for me. So I would have to put it above An American Werewolf in London.
Wow. All right. Well, Austin, what do you think?
I go like a mid-low A on this one only because Dawn of the Dead is S level in my heart, and this one, even though it's shorter than Dawn of the Dead, it feels longer for some reason because I think it kind of drags in the middle, kind of getting to the finale, just in my personal opinion. But that finale is amazing. I think it starts strong, has kind of a slow middle, and ends strong. So, but again, Dawn is an S for me. Day's just kind of an A. So I'll go A.
Yeah, and well, for me, I'll probably give it a solid A. Like I had a lot of fun with it, but I do want to give a shout out to Bub. I thought Bub was like a pretty cool zombie character, but I'll give it a solid A. But
All right.
but Mark, let's throw it to you for just sheer order of the pictures. But what do you think?
We'll see if we can hear you.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear it. You might
I
have
don't
to
think
just
you
type it
can
in
hear
the,
us.
in the chat. So yeah, we'll.
Hey, Mark, we
Can you
hear
hear
you
us,
now.
Mark?
Hey,
No,
No, he's still kind of in and out. So we may. Can you? Yeah.
we'll throw it to Adam.
Type-
and then,
type it out.
Mark, if
wait.
you want to
Type it
type it in
Am
the,
I here?
the
Wait.
chat.
Can you hear
Yes,
me?
Mark.
Type it in.
Yes, go,
Yes.
go,
Am
go.
I coming through?
Yes,
Yeah,
go.
go quickly.
Gotta go
Yeah,
quick.
Day of the Dead.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, go.
Yes, Day of the Dead. Go.
Okay, I'll go into the chat.
Yeah.
Nope.
That's all right.
Say now.
It's okay.
Let's
All right, fine.
go.
Adam.
Let's go with Adam. You're up.
Yes.
We're gonna have Mark
okay.
from now on typing stuff in the chat. I think.
Okay.
Mhm.
Day of the Dead's an A for me.
All right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's an A.
Wait. Is there a delay on me?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a big one.
Definitely. Yes. Big
You're
time.
fine, Mark. You're fine, Mark. Just go. We love you, man.
Yeah, yeah.
We do.
You're awesome. Just yeah. Just
All I
about
was going
you.
to say is it's an A for me. It really opened up the world of the zombie apocalypse. It's what essentially inspired Kirkman to do his story. So, Day of the Dead is a solid A for me.
All right.
All right, William.
Yeah, for me, it's an S. This is actually I might have to give the edge to Night of the Living Dead, but otherwise, this is my favorite of Romero's films. I actually think Dawn of the Dead isn't very good. I know I'm weird on that, but Day of the Dead is basically one of the most upsetting films in the zombie genre you could possibly imagine. The world is over. Now what? How much do we cling to? What's the point? We could try to figure this thing out, but what if we're the only 5 people left on the planet? Is there even a point anymore? For me, if you were to ask me, like, hey, William, what's it like to have one of your panic attacks? I would tell you to watch Day of the Dead. So this movie is S tier. I came very close to picking it a couple of times, and I'm glad someone brought it up.
And then Mark gave it a solid B in the chat. So unfortunately, that's going to drag it down just a little bit, probably below The Stepfather or Return of the Living Dead.
All right. We'll put it maybe right there.
Okay.
Right in between.
And my last one quickly for S
Hail
tier.
Mary.
I'm gonna nominate the best anthology film of the '80s, Creepshow. It's fucking awesome.
Yes.
It's great. And
totally forgot
so
about
I'll leave it kind of
Creepshow.
brief, but Creepshow, it
Where's
works. It's a
Creepshow?
lot of
And
fun.
it's Halloween
It's
3.
on the right, kind of in the right corner.
Oh, yeah.
Careful of Prince of
There we go.
Darkness.
Yeah.
So I'll just leave it at that. Creepshow is S, and I'll get everybody's thoughts.
Yeah, like I was actually pretty blown away by it when I watched it for the first time about 4 or 5 days ago, and yeah, like we had some pretty big A-list actors in there too. So yeah, I'll say S tier. Yeah, I'll echo that.
Okay.
All right, Adam. And then Mark, you can just type in the chat again.
Just type it in.
Yeah. I forgive me. Reiterate the title of the film.
Creepshow.
Creepshow. Yes. A for me. Creepshow is an A for me. I revisited it recently. I think it's a little shaggy in terms of runtime, even for an anthology film. I think, but I still think it's one of the best anthology films. But yeah, it's not S tier for me. Just because it doesn't quite get over the cusp. But I think it's one of the most solid anthology films of the 80s.
Right, William.
I would give this a very low S tier or a very high A. I think this movie is just brimming with imagination and visual ingenuity, and everyone's just so excited to be in this movie and making this movie, and I think that energy just comes across. So I love it a lot. I have a big fondness for anthology horror in the first place. This is one of the few anthology horror movies where every segment is pretty great.
Yeah.
So, well, just for
Chris?
clarification, because we're literally in the nitty gritty, William B, you got to go S or A. I need.
I'll give it an S.
Oh yeah.
S.
I'll give
Okay,
it an
cool. I'm keeping track of votes, so I'm just trying to be
I
fair.
understand. You're fine.
Okay, Chris.
S.
Okay.
All right.
Well, with
Fair
4
enough.
and 1, that's the same as American Werewolf, so it goes right next to American Werewolf in the S tier.
All right.
And
Do that.
Jordan, I think
And
you're the
then-
last pick before we start ranking.
Yeah, for my Hail Mary, I gotta give some love to Child's Play. We gotta have some Chucky on the list.
Oh,
I
hell
feel like.
yes.
Yeah, and I feel like I kind of went with like the posters that kind of showed up better on Google Images, so like it's a little almost kind of unrecognizable, but that is Child's Play, and I think that it's a solid S. I wouldn't put it high though. I'd put it probably at the very bottom of everything that we have on S. So I'll put it there. And I literally watched this movie for the first time last night. I've seen other Child's Play and Chucky movies, but I've never seen the original until last night. So yeah. But Adam, what do you think?
Child's Play for me is on the cusp of the highest A you could possibly be, very close to an S. I think it's just a little goofy for it to keep it from being an S. But what I like about it is like what Bibbs was saying earlier about the Lost Boys, tapping into that, that anxiety of being a single parent in the late 80s, especially. I really identify with that storyline with Catherine Hicks in that movie. And she's just trying to keep her kid happy. And I also think that the effects with the Chucky doll are really amazing. And the follow-up, the sequel, Child's Play 2, is so much fun. So it's an A for me.
Yeah. All right. Go to A. William.
For me, that's a B. I think the scare with the batteries is one of the great scares of the 80s. I love it. It's genius. But I think the film makes a misstep and I appreciating the film from the parents' perspective, but for me, the film is infinitely scarier from the kids' perspective. And I think by saving that for the second movie, this first one comes across like a pretty cool killer doll movie with some good scary bits. But for me, the ultimate Child's Play movie is Child's Play 2. I think that's exactly what the series needed to be. So I like this movie a lot. It scared me a lot as a kid, but as an adult, it's a high B.
All right, and then Mark in the chat said B. So.
A B. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Chris, what do you think?
So I agree with you on the S, but obviously with all those votes, it's not going to make out. So, but yes,
Yeah.
I think it's a high S.
Maybe.
I would knock down Creeps, Night of the Creeps. Yeah.
All right. Well, Austin, what do you think?
I go like really strong B as well. I think it's a really strong B movie. None of the Chucky films I think are as good as any of the other films here, as well written or as well directed. Just for me, it's a B, but it's a really strong B. I like Child's Play a lot. I rewatched it today. It's still fun. I enjoy it.
So we got.
So with
couple
that,
Bs,
it kind of goes.
couple
It kind of
Ss,
goes
a final
around
A.
video. It kind of goes around Videodrome, is according to my things.
All right. I'll just put it right below Day of the Dead.
All right.
We'll do
All right,
that.
that's
So
it.
with
I
that-
think that's it for the
yeah.
votes or for the nominations. So
Yes.
now it's just to hash out both the S tier and the 3 honorable mentions.
Well, yes, we want to give it a definitive ranking, 1 to 10, and then we're just gonna go in
Does
the poll
everybody
tomorrow.
think that
so
The Shining is like a pretty good number 1? Like as far as it's probably the best well-made
I'm
movie
yeah.
out
totally
of
fine with
it?
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So I
And then
think the
number
top
2
three
is
I think the top 3 are
perfect where they are? Okay. Yeah,
think
yeah,
the
I
top
kind of
3 are
agree with
perfect. Does
that.
anyone disagree with the top 3?
no,
Okay.
No.
I think that
Yeah. I'm
All
on
right.
board.
that's good. Like even the top 4, like I'm totally
Mm.
fine with.
I'm fine with
cool
both.
Poltergeist being up there too.
I'm cool with Poltergeist. I would definitely put Nightmare on Elm Street in number 5 ahead of Reanimator.
Yeah.
You could
I
do that.
agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're totally
And then
fine with that.
the rest of the 5, they could go in any order, and I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
I would actually
Yeah, I
I
move
don't
would
up
put
really have a preference
Hellraiser
on the rest
above
of them.
Reanimator.
I go Reanimator above Hellraiser though.
I've never seen Reanimator, so I can't really say. But I would move up American Werewolf in London. I thought that was like higher than Hellraiser for me. But
I would definitely put Night of the Creeps ahead of Creepshow at least.
I kind of like Night of the Creeps more than Creepshow, to be honest. And I love Creepshow too, but
We can do that.
Creeps is better than Creepshow.
I'm perfectly content with that. If that's our top 10, I'm perfectly content with that.
That's
I think that's a nice diverse 10. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, and then if you want to go,
this is going to be the tough one. We got
honorable
three honorable mentions. I kind of think Evil Dead 2 needs to be on the top 13. Like I know Jordan's the dissenter on that, but and to be fair, Evil Dead 2 had his dissent, but we have 4 S tier votes for Evil Dead 2, so I think it's definitely one of the honorable
I think
mentions.
it's definitely runner-up. I think it's got
Yeah. And
also Gremlins too. That got a lot of pretty.
Gremlins also had 3 S tier votes and 3 A's, so I think it kind of goes. It had more than Fright Night. So and The Stepfather.
The third one though is where we're
Gremlins is amazing.
A little debate.
I'm glad it got the honorable mentions.
Yeah, Gremlins is an honorable mention. I'm trying. That's why I keep track of votes so I can try to tell.
I would be happy with
other
Fright
ones,
Night, Stepfather, or Day of the Dead as or Pumpkinhead, or those.
Yeah.
Those would be like my next ones.
Flipping cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I've only seen Fright Night and Day of the Dead, and I would
Pumpkinhead
nominate
above
either
Fright
of those
Night.
ones.
I kind of feel like we need
Pumpkinhead,
I kind of feel like we need a vampire movie in there. So I would go either like Fright Night or maybe Fright
I don't
Night.
think we need that. But I do think Near Dark. I do want to. If I would, I don't know. Maybe Near Dark ahead of it.
I want that right like that.
Yeah.
Perfect. I like that order.
I don't know because like there's an argument for Near Dark too.
But I didn't like Near Dark that much, so I can't go in on that. I like Fright Night more than Near Dark.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've never seen it, so yeah. I mean, I'm happy with that. That's fine by me. So yeah,
I can live with it.
Looking good. Looking good.
Looking good.
Yeah, and we have no objections unless Mark wants to chime in the chat a little bit, but but I think that's pretty much.
I know it's gonna be a little tougher.
All
right.
Yeah, sorry, Mark, that we can't
it.
hear you, but
I'll acquiesce to the group. Okay.
Yeah.
He's okay with
yeah.
the group. Like.
Great.
Yeah. So.
Excellent.
So as the co-host, Austin, do you want to break down the top 10 for us and our 3 honorable mentions?
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
So number 1, we've got Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. Number 2, we've got Cronenberg's The Fly. Number 3, John Carpenter's The Thing. Number 4, we've got Tobe Hooper's Poltergeist. Number 5, Wes Craven's Nightmare on Elm Street. Number 6, we've got Stuart Gordon's Reanimator. Number 7, Clive Barker with Hellraiser. Number 8, John Landis with American Werewolf in London. Number 9, the very underrated Night of the Creeps. Number 10, the anthology film Creepshow from George A. Romero. And our honorable mentions are Sam Raimi's Evil Dead 2. We got Joe Dante's Gremlins, and we've got Fright Night.
All right, yeah, we made it through.
Yeah, good job,
It's over
everybody.
3 hours.
I know. But we knew it was going to be a little longer because the 80s are fucking awesome. So, I mean, we knew it was going to be longer.
Yes.
Yeah. The 80s deserve to be talked about.
I mean, look at all those A movies, and we didn't even get to some of the ones that are still A's, really good stuff. So
yeah.
Yeah, there's some really good
Yeah,
stuff.
like Friday the 13th. Yeah.
Didn't get
From Beyond. From Beyond is fucking great. I love From Beyond.
Beyond is great. We didn't talk about Little
Little
Shop of Horrors, or Sleepaway Camp, or Maniac.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about The Monster Squad. We didn't talk about the original Pet Cemetery. We didn't talk about Aliens or Cujo.
By the way,
talk about The Hitcher.
Two of the films directed by Fred Decker out of his 3 were on this list.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
good stuff.
It was a lot of fun, guys, though. Thanks so much for coming on and being a part of this. So
Yeah, been a delight.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I'll just end it there, and we'll go around the horn, and you can just tell us where we can find you. So we'll start with William. Where can we find you?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at William Bibbiani. I also host the Critically Acclaimed Network, which is a lot of podcasts, including Critically Acclaimed, we review new releases, Cancel Too Soon, we review TV shows that lasted only 1 season or less, Episode 0, where we discuss the prehistory of the most popular movies ever made. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/Critically Acclaimed Network. We have a lot of exclusive shows there, including a show where we review every single episode of Star Trek in production order, a show we're reviewing every single episode of the 1960s Batman. We're doing a show we're reviewing every single film ever nominated for Best Picture. We do commentary tracks. I also have a soap business with my wife and partner, M. Lopez da Silva, who is also an author. Please check out her retro wave feminist, pro-queer, pro-sex work slasher novel Hooker, which is available wherever you can find books. But our soap business is called Salt Cat Soap. You can find it on Etsy, or you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram, Salt Cat Soap. We sell a lot of handcrafted soaps, very wonderful designs. We release new designs all the time, and the reviews have been excellent so far. And thank you to everybody who's already purchased some.
All right. And William, just real quickly before you bow out, I know you got to leave, but we are going to do 70s probably around September, right before Halloween. So if you want in on that, we might hit you up. All right.
Oh, and Bibbs.
Yes.
Yeah, buy the book.
Oh my God! Thank you, Adam. That's great. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, if you got to bow out, you can do what you got to do.
I do have to bow out, but seriously, thank you to everybody. Adam, you're amazing.
We get assigned.
Mark, you're amazing. Chris,
you,
real pleasure. Austin, real pleasure. Jordan, real pleasure. I don't know you as well as I would like, but thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Pleasure for you too.
Always great to hang out with all of you. I gotta go.
Thank you for coming on the show, man. This has been a lot
Mark's
of fun.
Mark's putting up his plugs on the screen.
Nice.
Twitter,
Thank you, everybody.
At the Hoyle.
All right.
Vlog projector
we've had Mark on. Yeah.
Vlog spot.
We've had Mark on several times, so we've got his plugs out there.
On the
I think he's I can't really read it very.
It kind of fuzzed out. I got your Twitter though.
Yeah. I was gonna see if we could
do all of the things
that way.
Do all of the things that Mark wrote out.
Yeah, right.
At the underscore Hoik on Twitter.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Go find him.
Yeah, Mark's awesome. We love having him. He'll probably be back for the 70s, hopefully with a little better internet connection, maybe.
Well, and we're actually gonna do 90s next when we do our horror, and we're going to end with 70s before Halloween, just because we're going to end with the OGs, the Godfathers of horror kind of stuff. So next, well, we probably won't do 90s till probably August or so because we got a busy July. But we're going to do that, and then we're going to do 70s probably in September. And what we're leading up to, Adam, just to tease you, is up when we get to Halloween, we're going to take all of our top 10s from each of the decades we've done because we've already done 2000s, 2010s, and have a huge battle royale and try to hash out the 10 best ever, which is going to be tough. So
10 best from every decade. So
look, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And I would really love to come back for anything horror related.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just keep me on your short list. As far as my stuff is concerned, I am mostly a Schmodown guy, and I go where I'm invited, like shows like this. But I will be back in the arena soon, so stay tuned to the Schmodown schedule. I will be playing again before long. And beyond that, follow Bibbs' stuff. He puts out good content.
Right.
So
yeah. There
you go.
He puts out a lot of it. So yeah.
And honestly, Hoik is someone I've been a fan of for a long time as well. And his Projector Has Been Drinking blog is quite hilarious and insightful. So check it out.
Yeah,
for sure. And then Chris, do you want to tell us where we can find you?
Well, I want to do a little shout out. Whoa! I want to do a shout out for our new podcast.
Oh yeah,
Podcast League now.
New shirt.
We have 2 podcasts out so far. Our character is he was royalty free. Our name is basically copyrighted at this point. I know Jordan was in the process of adding the first 2 episodes to most all the parts where you listen to podcasts. It's just a lot of fun. So basically, it's the 3 of us hashing out, talking about things we collect and other topics. It's just a hell of a lot of fun. As far as other
shenanigans ensue, all that stuff.
Exactly. As far as everything else goes, it's right down there. Twitter at writer_84, at Instagram cscott1128. Those are great spots. Oh yeah, and we now have a Instagram for the channel as well. Yeah. So Movie Hero.
Movie Hero 2121.
Yes.
On Instagram. So
and I mostly take care of that.
Our stuff.
Yeah.
Is there, yeah.
Yep.
But in Austin, where can we find you?
Yeah, and I mostly take care of the official Twitter at Movie Hero 2121. If you want to follow us there, we'll make all the announcements for all the different shows we got coming up. We had 4 different shows this week. This was 4 of 4. So we had 2 other shows already on the channel that are live. Tournament Fights, which is a brand new show we did, which is a lot of fun, really rapid fire, just one of the other Coke or Pepsi type stuff, just super fast. It's a lot of fun. And then we also had another Tier Ranker Fights earlier this week that was super fun in a different way of best fictional vehicles. And we had a blast doing that one. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, but I won't do much than that. Chris plugged the podcast, and that's pretty much all we have now. We're going on a little bit of a hiatus for about a week and a half, 2 weeks while Jordan goes on vacation. So that's why we're pumping out all the content this week.
Yeah, so we did 4 shows, and then I have a trivia match, one of the fan leagues coming up on Sunday. So I'll be filming 5 times before I go out of town. Then I leave Monday for 2 weeks, so we'll be on hiatus. But when we come back, though, we'll be doing on Tuesday, July 14th, we have Amaru Moses coming on to do best comedies from 2010 until now. So we're going through all the different comedy decades, just like we've been doing horror. So we're having that coming up. And then also, too, I run the Showdown Friends and Family group over on Facebook. So we're going to have a poll with our top 10 plus the 3 honorable mentions. Will be up tomorrow. And if you have anything that you want to promote in that group, you can promote to your heart's content over there. If you have any special projects or anything like that, just go for it over there. We always try and support each other there. But yeah, that's where you can find me. And that'll do it for us on Tier Ranker Fights. So for Chris, for Adam, for Austin, for Jordan, for William and Mark, who had to bow out just a little early, this has been Tier Ranker Fights, and we will see you next time.